welcome to the Tagone Radio Lounge with your hosts from Brighton, from sunny Brighton, Sonic,
Steve,
Mikey,
Ian and Vic. Hello.
And we are here tonight on a special Radio Lounge with our guest Max Igan, who will be arriving shortly.
another one of them, eh?
Yes.
let's hope he hasn't
But I mean, it is
or
still,
pneumonia
Sure.
in between agreements.
still only 7 o'clock in the morning in Australia, so tomorrow, he's in the future.
Yeah. That's why the world can't end today, because it's already tomorrow somewhere else. Charles Swatch's only bit of wisdom that was worth a fuck.
Yeah.
So until our guest arrives, how is everybody?
Yeah.
We're good, yeah. Yeah, very good. I've been listening to a few of Max's recent radio appearances.
What's he talking about at the moment? I haven't heard anything fresh in the last couple of weeks or so.
No.
Talking about the HR 34/7.
Yeah.
What's this?
237, is it?
Yeah, HR.
HR
I don't know what it
237
stands
is the
for, but I
House
see it in the
Resolution
research.
237,
Yeah, House Resolution.
which is something that Obama has just signed, which
Yes.
makes it a felony to protest outside a political meeting of some sort. They've given it some kind of it's the CIA or the security forces have been designated this particular meeting one that you can't cause any protest or anything at. Then you can be arrested and put in prison for a year or longer,
So,
up to 10 years. So actually,
Can you get a bit closer to the microphone?
it's not just political.
I've turned it up.
Okay, it's not just political things that they've labelled this that you can't protest at as well. They've even labelled things like the Super Bowl. So if you turn up at the Super Bowl and maybe something happens, if they designated that to be a kind of
They're just taking away the freedom of rights.
well, that's it. Why? Gosh, I thought in America your right to free speech was tantamount to being isn't that what they stand up and pledge their allegiance to?
Part of the Constitution.
Yeah.
That's what it's based on.
which was outmoded however many years ago. Sorry, let me just get this straight. You're telling me...
It's another statute, isn't it? So,
Exactly,
yeah,
you're
it's
telling me
gonna-
there's another piece of paper, like giving the police permission to do exactly what they've been doing whenever they wanted to for the last 50 years. Oh my god, I can't believe it. Oh dear, really?
You better believe it, Ian. There's another piece of paper,
Wow.
God damn it.
Yeah, and another piece of paper giving them the justification to do exactly what they wanted to do before. I mean, I'm surprised actually to think that Max would have been giving so much attention to it, because that doesn't really feel like news to me.
I think that it doesn't feel like news to a lot of people that
I think
are
he's
aware
hoping
of
it's going to
what's
wake
going
people up,
on.
because it's going to piss people off so much that they will act. He puts
Yeah.
the thing that for every action there is an opposite reaction. So
And-
he's hoping
and
that it's
that
going to
it-
kind of bring on a change. And
It's
kind
just another thing that that's kind of pushing that envelope a bit more to see how much people can take before they actually go, God damn, this is not right. And right, well, they've got away with that one. They've actually announced that you no longer have a right to free speech. So are people just going to go, oh, all right then, I'll just be quiet.
And it's an
They've
act-
announced
yeah,
it,
it's an
so
act
we'll
of
whether
treason, isn't it,
you know,
by
I mean,
Obama?
for people who, believe in the power of free speech and just to, that it's not going to necessarily have that much effect and it's not going to be a surprise. But for the general public, surely they should be beginning to get a bit shocked by some of the things that are going on. I think that's what he's trying to put over and convey, is that how many more times do they have to be hit on the head before they're going to go, who the hell's got the hammer around here?
I'd say probably not until the TCBs are being like stenciled onto their like eyelids will they actually be
Yeah.
kind of ready to move.
Yeah.
But at least myself personally, I mean, the thought of the right to protest being taken away is not something I feel particularly concerned about, because I mean my feeling more and more is that protests are so easily managed by the forces, the powers that were, that it kind of like plays into their hands to assemble in large numbers in prominent places.
Use it as control of position.
Exactly. It's, and you know, if this gets some people angry and it gets some people protesting, then it will give them another perfect opportunity to stamp something out publicly.
Yeah. I don't think he's trying to rally the troops to kind of protest, but I think he is trying to get people to become more of a show of strength in these matters. So that I was thinking about the census earlier on, and how there must actually have been thousands of people who didn't bother doing the census, and that actually putting the census out was something of an exercise in gleaning. I mean, they know how many people don't bother to vote, but how many people perhaps disobeyed this order that they were giving out to fill in the census form.
Well, there were millions.
Yeah, and so it was something of a, for them, a numbers getting exercise, in that they could see, it's a survey to see how many people didn't bother to do that, because then they get an idea of how many people are actually they're up against. So I'm guessing that they beginning to get quite shocked by the amount of people who are beginning to just not bother with things like
We
that.
were talking about this the other night when we were talking about votes and the right to vote, and how over here you go to a polling station, so you're not actually voting, you're just
It's not a vote, it's a poll,
you're
like
given
an
a poll,
opinion.
It's an opinion poll.
Yeah.
And they do whatever, you know, it doesn't matter who you vote for, you still get the government. But we also, I think was it Dude Base or one of the guys brought up, well, it'd be good to have the choice to vote but not to vote.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
a box where you actually are voting, using your right to vote, you're not voting for anything they're on, that's on offer.
I always thought that it would be quite good on these in voting, is that you actually vote for the one that you would least like to rule your country. So it's the one that you hate the most that you put I would least like this person. Rather than it being a popularity vote, it should be an unpopularity vote. So then the one who actually wins, in inverted brackets,
Like the
is the one.
cancer.
Yeah, it's the one who got the least votes, and they
That's
win
just the
by
same as it is in
default.
reality, doesn't it?
They win by default, and therefore they can't go round saying the people. We speak on behalf of the people, because they're not speaking on behalf of the people. They're just speaking on behalf of those who have said, right, all the rest we really didn't want, but you were the one that we didn't want less than the others. It would give them less of a high horse to kind of...
the election into an X Factor, didn't they?
Yeah,
The
well,
next
that's
step
it.
They had a big gong.
That's
and they
it, it's a
gonged
big bloody game
Yeah,
show
that's
anyway,
what
so
it's
why
like,
don't
yeah.
we use the same rules that they
The
use on
camera
these
comes
game
along
shows?
the stage and walks him off the stage. That'd be great.
Did you ever see the episode of South Park when they were doing school elections for the new mascot? Because they couldn't use the bull anymore because PETA was upset at using an animal. So they decided on a giant douchebag or a turd sandwich. And he's sitting, the guy didn't want to vote, and he said, I don't want to vote for a giant douchebag or a giant turd sandwich. He's going, yeah, but it's always between a giant douchebag and a And the Puff Daddy going, vote or die, bitch. So good, so spot on.
Did you hear this, any news about the alternative government that's already been established in the US?
No, what's this?
Nope.
Well, I heard a very interesting transmission that I wish I could just link you up to right now. I couldn't give you the link actually directly. There was a thing I heard this week, which was announcing the fact that in February a new government was already established in the US via paperwork. I don't know. I have a feeling this might be something to do with Ted Turner. I'm not certain about that though. But basically, a paperwork procedure has been completed, and this new government is reinitiating the constitution. They've basically completed a legislative procedure which is dispensed with the Obama government, and undone all of the draconian legislation that has been done that's actually kind of previously surpassed the constitution, and now there's this kind of battle to get everyone to know about it, because obviously the Obama administration are sitting on top with all the connections to all the media. Apparently the military are already involved in this as well, and yet again it's this battle of the media. It's like
I have heard about the military part of that actually, that some generals went with papers to the Senate.
That's right.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
And now it's a question of time as to how long it takes for the general consensus to get behind the new government.
Well, the key is the media, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
Because as soon as the telly tells you to do something, you do it.
Well, I mean, my perhaps vain hope is that people actually talk to each other outside of the media. And
that'll only happen if the television tells you to do it.
So we need to get on TV then.
Sorry?
We need to get into television then.
Well, we're going to pretend we're Jewish.
My sense is that people are still out there talking to each other. You know, like many of us go to work. Many of us have social clubs. You know, we're not all completely isolated from each other in front of the TV. And they've also established the beginnings of a new currency. And how long is it? Once people realise that their debt issues are solved, that they don't have to be worried.
They'll wish they'd moved into a bigger house. And bought that bigger car.
Once they realise their debt issues are solved and that they don't have to spend all day working for someone they don't like, how long would it take for the change to really...
Gosh. And overnight.
Am I just a dreamer?
But do you think they're going to let that
You're
happen?
not the only one.
We'll all drink together. We can live in the world as one.
Is this the moment where we should light some incense and all cross our legs?
No, it's the time we should put a shotgun on our mouths and fucking pull the trigger.
Can we welcome to the conversation our resident radio host, Swami.
Swami.
Hello, Swami.
Namaste. I welcome everyone. Great love.
And a very happy namaste to you.
Namaste.
Who's Norma?
That's my wife, Norma.
Nam.
How old is she?
Who, my wife?
No, Norma.
She's 50.
I
I tell you that because she's not here right now.
Oh no.
Otherwise, Swami would get a skillet in the head.
I was going to say, what have you got there? Got her there scrubbing the floors or something. She can't make it.
I was going to say, the orange and the beads don't mean nothing when that comes.
Is she going to fetch the water?
She works as a personal assistant for an autistic young man.
Oh, excellent. Very good job.
That could be a bit of a challenge, couldn't it?
Oh, it is from time to time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But some of us are designed to express that way, and some of us are designed to do other stuff. So it all gets done.
Okay. Should we? Max has just come online here, so I'll. If we just stick a tune on for a couple of minutes, and I'll give him a sky and bring him in. Yep.
Sounds good, yeah. I've got a little this here that I just downloaded, which is very nice. There's a little track called by a guy called Paul Tone called Breathe the Air, which was free from SoundCloud, which is really nice.
Excellent, excellent.
You can
Promoting upcoming talent from the SoundCloud. Excellent. So I've just got a message from Max. He's just woken up because he is in the future. It is tomorrow morning for him. So I said no rush. We can chat amongst ourselves.
Okay. It's funny, I was just imagining Max scratching his balls there.
Oh, Too much information, Ian.
Pushing his shield out, hey, get up! Gotta go on to UK radio, mate.
Is he a married man?
Everybody's married in Byron Bay.
He's a very mysterious character, isn't he? He seems to have kept his
mugshot as sans is 0, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nobody knows what it looks like.
Hey, Sonic?
Nobody knows what
Yeah?
I either.
Hello, Swami?
No, isn't it?
Yes. Could you introduce me to our new friend here who is thinking about Max's testicles?
Ian.
Ian?
That's Ian, yes. That's one of our fellow Brightonians on the Sovereign movement.
Okay. Had not yet been exposed to the flavor of God that Ian is. He's special all unto himself.
Hello, Swami.
Hello, my friend.
I think
Hello.
actually Ian was here with us when we had...
Darren
Diogi.
This is Ian's second visit to the lounge.
Oh, okay, all right. I thought there was something faintly familiar, but
Yeah, he was the one who did actually talk instead of like the others who just let a jaws drop while Darren waxed lyrical.
right.
Ian's got the type of intellect that can keep up with that sort of stuff.
Well, see, y'all all sound the same to us, you know.
Yeah, I bet we all look the same as well.
I'm new to me. I just see Shiva and Shakti standing there.
Yeah, right.
Steve's
The
actually here
individuation
tonight.
is the mask.
Steve's actually here tonight in his furry G-string. I'm wearing my I'm wearing my 3-piece black PVC setup.
Again.
Yeah.
I've got my
You
size
could have
42 knickers on.
you could have hosed it down, Ian, as well. That'd have been what will Max think of us?
Vic's actually naked tonight.
Yeah, I'm naked. I'm
That's
control.
Vic, he's free.
Free and easy. Naturist.
Sex covered in vines.
I'm actually wearing my knickers over the top of the rest of my clothes, though, so
Like
I'm
Superwoman.
actually fully,
They put a handkerchief on the head on like.
yeah, that's it. Got my
I
hanky on
once
the
had an aged neighbor who would do that.
I've had a realisation this weekend that I'll be quite happy to share with you guys.
Yeah.
Because I've been progressing with my non-payment of tax and stuff, and I've had some interesting kind of toing and froing with the Brighton Council, and they've finally given up on me and said, look, we just can't be bothered to talk about this anymore. We're going to send you a court summons. I've had a realisation how to conditionally accept my court summons. And I'm going to say I'm very happy to come and appear in your court as long as I can bring my sword of truth. And I'm now engaged in a search.
That was all the truth you always have in this sheet.
And I'm now actively engaged in trying to find a sword master with a serious piece of metal for me.
Ian, you know these lame chat-up lines about showing people your sword of truth? They're just not going to work in a courtroom, okay? Even if it is...
I don't know how they take to that in the UK, but when you walk up with a big freaking scary weapon, they tend to pull their own.
Are we a bit more civilised over here, Swami?
I would hope so, but you know, actually the tendencies are not good in the courthouse.
They're probably not that good over here either, but at least he'll get a chance to say his piece before they
I
blow
have
his
a
head off.
wooden sword.
Sorry?
I have a wooden sword.
No, I want
No, you
something.
want
I want
metal.
something that looks like it was Excalibur in a past life.
Is Reese that with us?
Is who?
Oh, he's not? No, shall I bring him in?
No, he's with us on the
Yeah,
call.
yeah, I'm here. I've just been doing stuff in the background.
Okay. Just saying hey, mate.
Hey there. Yeah, I thought you guys didn't want me on the show because you didn't call.
Oh.
I'm kidding.
We just realised it was on about 5 minutes ago.
Okay. Yes, I am here though. Go on.
Excellent. So yeah, we're
Max
just.
Revolutions, do we think?
Yeah. Has he had a good shit yet? Has he washed it?
Stephen.
Don't wait, you started then.
You can't not
You can
talk
give it
about
out.
nature.
Get it out really
Swami, I read a book by this guru once, and the basic gist of the book was if you're going to find enlightenment only through having a good shit every day.
Well, that's part of the program, yeah, but it's not the only part.
He recommended
I
the
know
price
plenty of
diet
people
for
that
the
fat
flatbread
big
chocolate.
that don't know anything.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got.
We have so many kind of phrases as well around, people being full of it.
Well, yeah, you can use it for
And,
anything. Shit happens.
yeah.
That's good shit. That's bad shit.
Bad shit, yeah.
You can't beat a good
You're
shit.
You're
uptight
in the shit.
and outside.
Yeah.
Dealing with
You're
shit.
knee deep in it.
Yeah. We know.
Without
we
a
know
paddle.
that- yeah. We know.
Have you got that part in Prometheus Rising yet, Steve?
No. Chapter 3. I pick that up, and then I pick up Valis, and I pick up the
Language of life.
the other one you've given me or
Yeah.
recommended. The
See one.
the NBC one.
Language of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found a book yesterday that just appeared in front of me, which was the day after Roswell. Yeah. So I bought it.
Akashic Records.
And
Dude, seriously, I was just at the bookstore and bought a book called The Akashic Record Player
Akashic Record
by
player.
and
Place of
Ontario Ali,
Wow.
a non-stop geomystic. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go on. That was just a weird little bit of sync.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
a huge
yeah.
little thing, yeah.
And the first page, I sat down at a coffee shop in town there, and the first page, I was just flicking through, the first page it stopped at, it was Tesla Death Ray, directed energy beam, particle beam. I was like, whoa!
Whoa, really? Bloody
Yeah. Yeah. 95p. Great buy.
What was the book called again?
It was called The Day After Roswell.
Right.
I think Freya was talking about that. I mentioned it.
Yeah, Corso.
Yeah, that's
Corso wrote that, right? Phil Corso?
Yeah.
Wow.
Do
See, that's where the technology for like fiber optics and stuff like that got into the
Mainstream.
government hands, and
Yeah.
then they handed it off to the appropriate universities and technical corporations to then bring it out to make money from the public.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And
But
that notion as well of Roswell. Joseph Farrell, he goes into this idea that the technology from Roswell was technology which had come.
It was
it was Earth
Earthbound
invented,
stuff,
but
yeah,
it was advanced Earth technology, which had its roots in the Nazi Bell experiments and early Nazi Germany. And so I think that we seem to sort of have like links and evidence of stuff coming from Nazi Germany through to America. But he also talks of how it kind of went 50-50, and a lot of it went to the east and to Russia.
Yeah, half of it.
And we never hear about how that was developed. I mean, they developed their rockets because they were given the timing switches, I think it was, and the technology of the timing switches and that kind of thing, and they were able to come up with the first actual rockets, which is why they got the first man into space. But then,
well, the half of it that went to the States was in the monatomic gold, sort of half of it, and the stuff that went to the Soviet Union was the red mercury.
Right.
So there was two different types of fuel that were developed in different sides of, the east and west sort of thing.
Yeah.
So he mentions it in other books he's written.
All of this stuff gets so crazy.
Just
If you knew the entirety of it, you would just sit with your chin on the floor, breathing, unable to do anything else. What?
I'm just not amazed anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, oh right, okay, so they can do that completely crazy weird thing, can they?
Well, there's another way to fuck up the world of inviting.
Yeah. Oh, of course they've done that. Yeah. Yeah, but I do wonder though, whatever happened to, or what technology they created in the East, which could match the level and advanced level of technology that obviously...
Well, there's all kinds of talk in the Vedas of India about the Vimanas, which which are UFOs. They're flying machines. They move around. They existed then. They exist now. That's just all there is to it.
They've just got sea bases now. They don't go on land. What do they need to go on land for? They're just underneath the sea. There's a whole lot of sea there.
Yeah. Did you watch that video, Nick, about the dolphins being gifted?
Oh yes.
That's a great.
Yeah. Did anybody see James Cameron's?
Oh yeah, what happened?
To the bottom of the Mariana Straits.
Yeah. Did he make it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. He's still alive.
Oh Jesus Christ, resonating Aquarius boy.
He was doing that soul swap technology thing, was he?
Mm.
Where you can put your...
Maybe he went to visit the aliens.
Yeah, I heard Freeman talking about it once, where they put your mind into some kind of thing, and it can go to the bottom of the sea, and you can look at the bottom of the sea. Do you remember that? You must, somebody else, surely, please, must have heard him talking about that.
No, I can't remember that one.
They do that with clones now.
Yeah, it's that kind of where they can... Yeah, where they can clone the body and just put the different cells in. Yeah. I've heard about that with super soldiers, because they can clone or use a strong body, put the soul into it, then when the body gets damaged, they can retrieve it, take the soul out, and then put it back into another cloned body, so that you're not losing the essence and the information that you've built up over all those years.
Well, that's the thing we discussed about time travel, wasn't it? Would you retain your knowledge, or would you lose it if you went back and forth, sort of thing?
I was reading on the rather funny parody website, the former White Hat, that last week Kerry Cassidy, bless her, she'd just been cloned.
No, right. Yeah, didn't we see that before?
Yeah.
Kerry Cassidy's not the Truth Girl, is she?
No.
Camelot.
She's got Project Camelot. Yeah.
She's only just been cloned. You mean that wasn't a clone that we were watching before?
No, that was her own individuated brand of what's the word I want? Putting yourself above others. Starts with an A, but I don't know. Anyone who's listened to Carrie can find that part pretty easy.
Yeah. Isn't Carrie Caroline's friend? Is she?
What happened to Bill?
Is she married to Richard Hoagland?
No.
No, that's she's called Robin.
That's it. Yeah. I know that Caroline knows her though.
I'm sure Caroline does know. Knows everybody. Shame she's not here.
I was thinking about the Caroline Rita experience the other day. Caroline likes cats, doesn't she? And Rita loves dogs. So Rita's the dog resonator, aren't she? And she's going to rip Caroline's head off. And I tend to agree with Rita more than I do Caroline.
What, on that point?
On the politics point about the voting being a pile of doo-doo.
Yeah, I resonate with Dude Face's.
Yeah, we were just talking about
have another box on there to say no vote.
No vote, yeah. because a no vote over here stands for a yes vote, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It stands if you don't vote, it's one for the state.
You know, I was wondering, have you guys heard the idea of voting out all the incumbents?
Funnily enough, our friend Ian here has just told us. Did you hear that? What he said earlier about the shadow government?
Oh, the new government.
The new government has just been formed with paperwork.
In America, do you know anything about this?
You heard about that? No.
Is this something that just happened recently then? Because I kind of thought there already was a secret government.
This is supposed to be the good secret government, though.
Oh, that kind of secret government. Okay. No, I guess I'm unaware of that one.
Well, it's a secret.
Yeah, obviously.
We have a caller.
We want to say good evening to John. Earwig of Doom. Hello, John.
Hello, John.
Hello, John.
Hello.
How are you doing, sir? Are you alright?
All right, yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, hello to the usual suspects.
Hello,
Hi,
John.
John. Sorry I didn't make it on Sunday. Was it good?
It's probably nothing you haven't heard before, but it was good anyway.
Yeah.
He was giving out DVDs, so I'll burn you one if you want.
All right,
Oh,
good,
yeah,
great,
excellent,
good,
yeah.
great.
Well, it's always good to hear Kent's point of view of things. He's a fine
Yes.
man.
Well, it's his first presentation. I played really well,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. He's a good talker. Was it all just a 3-step process thing then? It wasn't anything new on developments of the trust or anything, no?
No, nothing about the trust, which I would have been quite interested in actually. But no, it was mainly what to do when you get a bill through, or sort of you being dragged into court for a parking ticket. How to answer, in the 3 steps. I'm sure EM knows all about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Done some very good videos on that, haven't you, EM?
If you say so.
We've just been commended. We've just been blowing enough smoke up his arse. I think he's he's trying to expel all the minute. Yeah, so welcome along to the Max Igan show, and he's just getting up, so
He's scratching his whatever. Yeah,
I
I heard that. I wonder if this is going to be archived on the Crow House.
Yeah.
You probably edit it.
Maybe not this.
That'd be interesting. Should we do a bit more music, do you think?
Yes, I reckon so.
Well, I would like to suppose we play some. Yeah, it's on the record. Funnily enough, yeah. I loaded it up for Steve Wilner because that song's played in the film The Box. You ever seen that?
Box.
Yeah, it's about if you press the box, if you press the button, you get $1 million, and somebody you don't, will die.
Oh yeah.
And if you don't press it, you get $100. Yeah, it's all it's all to do with NASA and a meteorite that crashed from Mars into this guy's head, and this is his job now, as he walks around with a box testing humanity to see if they will let somebody they don't know die. It's very same guy that did Donnie Darko.
And it's got Cameron Diaz in it.
That's right.
Yeah, Cameron Diaz and
Very wooden, unfortunately.
she's outrageously wooden. I think she saves all her best wood for that film, actually.
Yeah.
It's mahogany. Polished very highly.
A mahogany performance.
Yeah. More wooden than she's ever been before. Cameron, we love you.
I reckon she's related to David.
Who? She actually came out and said a few months ago that she actually used to buy dope off of Snoop Dogg at high school. Did you hear that?
Oh yeah, yeah. Wasn't that on like Jonathan Ross or something like that?
What kind of
Hey, look how cool I am.
Just say this, it'll make you look cool.
It's a shame you didn't smoke it, Cameron.
Do you think she's got some
He used to sell it
reptilian blood in her?
Sorry, Nick, say that again?
Do you think she's got some reptilian blood in her?
Got some what blood now?
Reptilian.
Reptilian?
She's more like a...
It's more of a fish, isn't she?
Have you watched that video yet, Nick? That Fry?
Right.
Yeah, have you seen that?
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
No.
Because they were giving it out and talking about it.
Oh, really? Were they?
Oh, Thrive. Yes, I've seen that. Yeah.
There's bits of it that are a bit dodged, to be honest, but...
Yeah.
Towards the end, yeah.
The guys from...
Here's some of the solutions in action. When Americans say that, it just doesn't resonate very
I
well.
like the first bit, though.
First bit's good.
Taurus.
But Nassim Harame's bits are brilliant, yeah. And fair enough for him to make it, but it definitely seems like a bit of a cloaking exercise going on there, sort of thing.
Yeah,
like.
something dodgy about it towards the end, yeah, when they start coming up with solutions.
Yeah.
And they never once mention energy weapons being used at the moment.
Exactly, there's no...
There's no talk
Well,
of...
the free energy thing is just skirted over the theories. I mean, it shows you the little machines, doesn't it? But it doesn't actually go into how you plug the things in. Which everybody always seems to sort of stop there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To give you some tangible links to how you're going to run your fridge or your, these machines that we kind of depend on.
When they show us where you plug it in.
Yeah.
Then
show us the guarantee, mate. Show us it making me a piece of toast and some coffee. I'll put all 10 of them. But I suppose
aren't they making these new machines with the coating that can just absorb the energy from the air?
Yes.
They could be so, completely green, like completely not carbon, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Like that carbon filter you can put on the windows.
That's the material that I'm thinking that you could use. I was watching a very good documentary about hempcrete the other day about building houses out of hemp and how they last. The longer they're up, the harder that the structure becomes. It petrifies over time.
Sounds a bit homoerotic, if you ask me.
You got that on mind tonight, yeah?
Okay.
I'm watching too much Starfleet, reading too much Starfleet, please. Well, you know that hemp's already quite a big building material. MDF is actually made from hemp fibres.
Excellent.
Which is actually banned in a lot of countries apart from the United Kingdom, but it's hemp sort of strung together with, dodgy acetate glues, basically. I mean, it's a high, medium density fibreboard that stands for, and the fibre is actually hemp. And you try cutting that, it's quite tough.
Yeah, well, it's one of the strongest fibres, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Britain used to produce tons and tons of it, hectares and hectares of...
What was law if you had any land?
Yeah, because they used to make rope and everything from it, and hessian sacks for the corn and everything.
And those ropes that have been under the sea for thousands of years are still there.
Mary Celeste, or maybe not the Mary
bits of
Celeste,
it.
but the Mary Rose. That's
No,
the one I'm
Mary
thinking of.
Celeste,
I know, that's why I thought, oh, that's the wrong one to name.
That one.
Any of y'all seen the little movie put together during the war by the U.S. Department of Agriculture called
Yes, we
Hemp
have, yeah.
Victory?
Meet your hemp, yeah.
I haven't seen that. Is that all?
Yeah, have you?
No, that's
Look it up. Hemp for Victory.
Hemp for Victory, that's it, yeah.
Ah, right.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Reefer Madness?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's class, isn't it?
They make a car out of hemp, which they BMW.
You know what I've been to a
doing now.
party too? I've never seen any stuff like that happen.
Me either. Yeah. I was quite disappointed when I tried that. And I didn't want to jump out a window because I thought, why? Never happened to me. Well, fortunately, I suppose.
How great those public information films.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Hemp Creek House there, right?
Oh, lovely.
Oh.
So, did any of you listen to Henrik on Vinnie Eastwood the other day?
I did, yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Any good?
Good show.
It was 3 hours though, and I think I managed to listen to just over an hour. haven't quite sort of trailed
Is that
through
his
it.
first ever venture outside of Red Ice?
I
Well,
think
lately, I haven't heard anything else that
I've
he's
seen
done.
him sort of expressing his own opinions on the film,
On
the
Red Ice.
Ben Stewart film. What's it called? Kymatica.
Alright.
He does.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that one.
Yeah, he does a little input in that, but I haven't ever heard him. do
Well,
it.
they might have.
He does his European Union film.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's good.
yeah,
That's really good.
yeah,
Yeah.
Inside
That's
the
interesting. Now
European-
it's about
But-
the bull, isn't it, on Crete?
Yeah.
That
Did
wasn't-
Andrew mention that at the weekend? Yeah.
He touched on Colombia. No, Europa.
Europa.
Yeah.
He
That's
wasn't.
interesting because I looked at the map of Crete and it is a bull.
Mm.
Do you know? Yeah. It's,
Yeah, it is, isn't it? The shape of a bull almost.
yeah. I mean, I've been to Crete. It's quite a magical place, eh? You get away from the tavernas and the neon lights, sort of thing. But all the beaches now there are all full of these little secret coves, which are just amazing. And these freshwater springs run into the sea. So you know when you're swimming in the Mediterranean Sea, it's really warm. You come across these really cold currents, and it's because of these freshwater springs that come out. So you know we all know what the freshwater springs mean, don't we? Gaian energy.
Yeah.
And goodness.
Good stuff.
Great stuff, yeah. Water's great.
Oh yeah, it really is.
So how's Max coming along then? Is he?
He must be still having some food. I'll just say it. Shall I G him up?
Well, been an hour of waffles so far. It would be nice to have a bit of intelligent conversation going on.
Waffles for breakfast.
Oh, yeah. What are you having for breakfast, Max? Down saying with the hemp, the veggie thing. And we went
Maybe he's having Vegemite.
Vegemite, yeah. He's lived in Byron Bay, so he'll be having fresh fruit and sort of real goodness. That's amazing. Byron Bay.
Oh,
Good.
I wonder if he knows
What, your friend in Byron Bay?
my
Probably.
friend in Byron Bay.
Probably.
Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah, there he is. He's living in Byron Bay now.
She's
You
married
must know her.
she's married to Damo. Goes surfing every morning. Apparently there's a beach just like north of Byron Bay, which if you dive in there's about 300 things that will kill you immediately. The most poisonous things ever. Are in this.
Okay, I'm going to bring him in now. So,
Namaste. Should we do a drum roll?
Aye. Oh, if we can have some.
Do it. Smoke weed.
You think you like that?
Smoke weed every day.
hello, Max.
Hi, Max. Are you there? Maybe we have to say good day.
Good morning.
Or good morning, yeah.
Good morning to the future.
Future's bright.
Anywho, so
So, yeah, anybody heard any good conspiracies lately?
So have you- the Akashic record player
Yeah, that sounds good.
That sounds
I'd like to get one of those. It's only going to release it soon.
So you get it as an app on your
I think
iPhone?
we're all, we're all basically in our own Akashic record players. It'd be nice to have one,
Have you ever tried to look at
a
it?
hassle.
So you-
Astral, dream yoga and stuff, yeah.
Is that the only way?
Well, no. I just imagine if you've got awakened consciousness, then you can access it.
Mm-hmm.
Access them constantly.
Yeah, right.
In the now and the past and the future, it's just
Sliding by and back and forth.
well, not there.
They're not there,
In the now.
Well, they are there because Max is
Yeah.
in the future.
I've just sent you an email, Steve, with
Max
links
the future.
to that. It's entitled Mass Arrest. It's the YouTube clip that was talking about the supposed new government.
Okay.
Oh, right,
I'll
put it,
share that,
put it up
then.
on the, yeah, on the thing there.
I shall so on.
Hello, Max.
You sure? You didn't.
Hello.
Tips, yeah? That's good. Yeah, I normally get a friend. You're my friend.
You know the native people of the original people of Australia used to use the trees to communicate with. So maybe we should have just all gone up to a tree to try and get a hold of Max this evening. I'd like to ask him about that actually. See if he can enlighten us a bit more.
Well, he said he's sort of in the call, but he's just wondering where. I've said I've brought you in, and he's going, where?
Where have you brought me to?
It's lost out in the Akashic records somewhere. It's floating around.
Okay, you get to be born into this life.
Well, hello,
Hey,
Max.
do you guys happen to know that aspen, a grove of aspen trees, all share a common root system? They only appear separate above.
Oh,
They're all connected,
fancy
yeah.
that.
So that'd be like the telegraph that the Aborigines.
You're just like that.
Oh.
So they're a bit like a kind of what's it called? Where they burrow underground, like bamboo or that, like grass. It's just-
Like fungus, you mean?
no, like grass.
They are all communing and receiving sustenance via a singular source, despite their
Mother system.
appearance of separation.
Ah.
This is the kind of a cool thing that humans can think about sometimes.
Yeah, it's a bit like the human race, isn't it, really? But we don't realise it.
Well, it's hard to see. I mean,
Hello?
who really gives you the support to look in that direction? It's
Hello,
hiding right underneath your baby toe on the left foot, but you don't ever look there. So it's just there forever, and you'll spin around in the mix.
Wow.
Good evening, Max Igan. Are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. I finally got in.
Good morning, Mike.
Good day, Max.
Good morning.
I'm good. Yeah, it's definitely morning here for me.
Oh. Oh, we're all
Well, we're just about to
relaxing.
go to bed, so see you later, mate. Yeah.
We're relaxing in the lounge here, Max.
So
And
welcome to the Type 1 Radio Lounge.
to you.
Okay. Good to be here finally. I'm not able to record this, it seems like, so without rebooting my computer or something, so doesn't matter.
Well, we're making a recording, mate, so we'll send it to you and you can just cut it up as you like.
Yeah, you can cut out the
Get tired of the first hour.
I've heard you on quite a few radio shows recently. You've been on Vinnie Eastwood, and I heard you on the Super Girls thing, and
Right.
Greater Eric.
Should we
Yeah.
introduce ourselves to Max? I think that'd be quite good. So, Max, I'm Sonic, and with us here are...
I'm Steve.
I'm Spy Chick,
Ian, and I'm Vic.
and on the call we also have.
Reset here.
And
Stay,
also
John Shiva.
Okay, nice to meet you all.
John?
Good evening, Max. Pleasure to speak to you. My name's John.
Absolutely. Pleased to meet you, John.
So there's quite a few of us.
It's all the family.
Yeah.
All
We're
the
all
family,
big
yeah,
fans
yeah.
of the Surviving the Matrix. Good,
Yeah.
very good stuff. Very inspiring.
Yeah, it's always really good to hear you speaking, and I think you always.
Your calming influence, you know. The voice of
Well, I hope it's not too calming. I like people. Yeah, I'd like people to actually put
your
the words
delivery
into
is calming, but
Good.
your message is very important.
Yes, you go straight to the point in a very relaxed way.
I was thinking more of the eye in the middle of a storm, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's people need that. I think they need to hear that it's not all gloom and doom. I mean, it is a lot, but I mean, like I've often said, I see it all as opportunities. I think people need to know what's going on, but they need to know how to approach it. So that's what I try to do: bring back a little bit of balance with the shows.
Excellent.
Max, you seem to be a very busy man. I just wondered what you do to really relax and take your mind off the troubles of the world. What do you enjoy doing?
I play a little bit of guitar. I have a reasonable sort of a social life. I've got a lot of friends around here that I see quite regularly. But I mean, I tend to. It's usually about work. Even when I go out, like I go to a restaurant and have a meal. There's a cafe, organic cafe that I go into in town a lot. But I tend to take my laptop in there and work while I'm there, or meet people in there and we talk shop. So, I mean, I really love what I do. The information that I bring to people, I enjoy bringing it to people. I enjoy my research. I've been doing it. I mean, I did it for many years as a hobby. I was a musician for most of my life, and investigating all of this stuff was a hobby of mine for about 30 years. And when I stopped playing in bands, then my hobby became my main forte in life, and now playing guitar is a bit of a hobby of mine. So I kind of love what I do, and so that I do what I do to relax. I feel quite relaxed when I'm doing it. That's probably why I come across as so relaxed in the shows and stuff, because I do enjoy it. I do enjoy the research. I enjoy expanding my mind, and I enjoy bringing this information to people. So, I mean, it's pretty well all about the research for me at the moment, and that's pretty well what I do with my life, sort of 24 hours a day.
Yeah. How did your work going? I heard you saying before the Christmas holiday you were working on a film.
Yeah, that should be finished in about another two weeks, I think.
Oh, cool.
I'm just sort of doing the final touches of it now, so it's a little bit different to the other ones that I've done, but it's just information that needs to get out there, so it'll be interesting to see how it's received.
What kind of areas are you covering?
Chemtrails, transhumanism mainly. Yeah.
On the chemtrail front there, Steve recently gifted a big cell tower with a nice piece of orgonite in the town where I work, and since it's just been blue skies, my friend.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I actually saw a really blue sky yesterday, the bluest sky I've seen for a very, very long time.
Okay.
The skies around here, even when they're blue, it's just not that deep blue.
Yeah, they're light grey blue, aren't they?
Well,
Yeah, it's kind of a light metallic blue colour, you know, and it just doesn't look right. But I saw an actual blue sky yesterday, and I was amazed.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
Remember when we were kids, Max, and the sun was yellow?
Yes.
Yeah, it was very different to what it is now. People forget all this stuff. It's been such a gradual change. You know, the sky has changed in gradual increments over the years, and people just haven't really noticed it.
Yeah.
And it's very different to what it used to be when I was a child. Yeah. And even on a clear day, you know, as your eyes go down towards the horizon, it kind of the blue fades into this whitish haze.
Yeah, definitely.
And the sun, when it sets now, has always got a haze around it. It's never just a ball of light the way it used to be.
What about the sky at night, Max? We were going to ask you, because the moon over here in our hemisphere seems to be upside, or not upside down, but it's moved.
It's lying on its back.
Yeah, it's moved so it looks like bull horns when it's crescent, and we've heard
Does it look different?
I haven't actually seen the moon a lot lately. Like it doesn't seem to be coming out as much as it used to. It's just it's coming out now. It's a new moon now, so I'll check it out when it gets a little bit fuller.
It's very clear.
That's interesting. You're not seeing it at all then? What's that? Even clear sky?
Well, yeah, in clear sky, it just doesn't seem to be there as much as it normally is. You know, I look out there and I think, where's the moon? And I can't see it. You know. So.
Well, I watched a thing about 14 months ago about the polar magnetic polar thing shifting.
Yeah.
Yeah, changing, and it was John Lash that actually put the information out, sort of thing, that the polar centres had moved. Now that's interesting. If the southern hemisphere can't see the moon at all, that's bizarre,
really
isn't
weird,
it?
Because,
Well, like I said, it was a new moon when I looked out there last night, so that was the first time I'd seen it in a little while. So I mean, it must be there at some stage.
Yeah.
But I just haven't been out there a lot to see it. But when I have been out there and I looked up, then there just doesn't seem to be a moon, you know.
Oh, right.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
You remember that picture I posted in the Space War News group that had the moon kind of in the shape that you're talking about, and then the other planets that were lined up with it?
Yeah.
Well, if you look at it, I mean, you can still see that. I mean, obviously the moon is there. It's just the reflection of the sun is on the bottom, and if they're not seeing it so much in the southern hemisphere, I don't know. It's almost seeming to me like maybe something has kind of shifted somehow, and that the reflection of the moon is just being, or the reflection of the sun is just being cast on a different part of the moon, as opposed to the moon actually turning over or something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, the shadows coming out different, because the moon's obviously going to be in the sky as normal.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the rays of the sun that hit it.
Maybe we're just spiralling differently around the sun. Maybe we were just,
We've definitely made some kind of movement.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
The shift has already happened.
There's nothing on the media about it. Is it?
Absolutely
No.
no. Well, that's why they like people like Max who put out stuff that he does.
Yeah.
Well, there's never anything on the media, really. I mean, the media is mainly theatre. That's the problem with the media.
Yeah, I've heard you talking quite recently. You've been quite big on this HR 347 that's come through in America.
Well, yeah, it's pretty shocking. It's pretty well the final nail in the coffin as far as America goes. I mean, at the moment, when you look at the bill, you think, oh, well, this is just areas where there's secret police, and it's just this and it's just that. But of course, the wording of the bill is so broad, as in all the stuff they bring in. It's always a very, very broad wording, so they can basically adopt it for almost any situation, and that's what they will do for sure. I mean, when you look at that and you look in the recent Defence Resources Preparedness Act that Obama brought in as well, and couple that with HR 347, you've basically got what they had in Nazi Germany. And it's just sort of there, and it's looking very, benign, and it's all there to help you. But I mean, America is pretty well gone. The America that we used to know and love is just not there anymore. It's now become something else. But it's been done in gradual increments. They do this very, very gradually, so people don't really notice too much. But that's what's happened. I mean, it's basically the loss of freedom of speech in America. And if you haven't got freedom of speech in America, then you haven't got America, because America was founded on freedom of speech. Well, so we're told anyway. It was always the bastion of freedom. We were told. But now it's basically what they had in Nazi Germany, and that's been a gradual process. But when that's what happens, when people become apathetic and people don't stay vigilant. And the problem is, I mean, people have lost their social perspective. People have forgot where they sit in the food chain. They've forgotten where the government sits in the food chain. We actually employ these people to act on our behalf. And everybody's forgotten that. Over the generations, it's been kind of educated out of people's minds. And now we think the government is there to control us. But it really isn't that way at all.
And it's funny how a country like America can be sending troops into foreign lands to defend this foreign country's right to freedom of speech, when it doesn't even have a right to freedom of speech for its own citizens.
Well, sending troops into foreign countries to defend their right of freedom of speech is it's theatre. It's a facade. They don't do anything of the sort. They go in there to strip the country of resources. They just do it under the guise of humanitarianism. We're going in there to help the people and free the people. And look what they've done to Iraq to help and free the people. 1.6 million Iraqis dead. You know, the place is majorly demolished in as far as infrastructure goes, and you've got all this sectarian violence, blood on the streets, death squads, house raids, no electricity, no water. I mean, it's absolutely shocking what's been done there, all in the name of freeing the people from the dictator that the United States government put in place and armed. You know, they put him in place and they armed him so they would have him there later when they wanted to invade the country under the guise of humanitarianism.
Do you think that they've brought Obama in to sign all these completely draconian measures, bills, which are just on paper, aren't they? You know, to do it with a smile, to do it with somebody that is smiling whilst he's signing everybody's life away?
Well, I mean, they always do this. They do it with whatever president they bring in. It always follows the same agenda. But the thing is that the Bush administration was so bad and did so many bad things that the country was virtually on the verge of revolution. And so they had to bring in someone, you know, to bring in change. We'll bring in a black man. Oh, wow. So suddenly all the black people who really hated Bush, who were ready for a revolution in the country, thought, oh, we've got a black man in there now. And they all calmed down and they all sort of, let's see if he actually brings about some change. But of course he can't, because the president is not the highest authority in the land. There's heaps of levels of top secret above president. The president's just a figurehead. He's a mouthpiece. And when you look at what Obama's been signing into law, or the legislation he's been bringing in and claiming it to be law, which is what they do, I mean, it's just a continuation of the Bush regime. I mean, he's out-Bushed Bush on several occasions. He's eviscerated what was left of the Constitution. He does it with a
Look
smile.
at the executive order he signed on the 16th in the middle of the night that says
exactly.
The Secretary of Agriculture will control plants. Not what kind of plants, just plants. The Secretary of the Department of Energy will run all things having to do with energy. I mean, this is just like, what?
Yeah, this is the National Defense Preparedness Act.
Right.
I mean, it's absolutely shocking. It's basically peacetime, peacetime martial law is what it is.
Right.
And you know, it's basically saying we, the government, can commandeer anything or anybody if we need your service. Okay, which is what they do in wartime. And this is what he's done. But I mean, they brought Obama in just to do it with a smile, because the country was so irate at what the Bush regime had done. But what people have got to get out of their minds is the concept of whether this man is white or black. It's completely irrelevant. It doesn't matter. He's performing the same job as every president has performed before him for the last 30 or 40 years. I mean, they've all been puppets of this regime, and they will continue to be so until people wake up to the fact that it's there. You know, it doesn't matter who you vote in. You just get a different face on the same coin. You know, and Obama was perfect for defusing the situation that Bush had created. And he came in on a platform of change. He said, I'm going to bring change, and he's certainly done that. It just hasn't been the change that everybody was hoping for. They need to get these politicians to specify what change they intend to make. That would be the clue, you know.
Or change for who?
Yeah. Change, all right. I'll bring you in change, and we won't have the United States at the end of it.
Yeah.
Change the United States into Soviet Russia. That's the change we'll do, you know. We'll turn it into a socialist dictatorship and see how you like it, you know.
I recently saw a headline saying that we have more people jailed and imprisoned in America than Stalin had in the Gulag Archipelago.
Absolutely. There's more people in American jails than in any other country on Earth, and in anywhere in any history on Earth. America has absolutely excelled in that. Number one in the whole history of the world.
It probably equates the Australian population, doesn't it?
I beg your pardon? I missed that one.
It's probably the same amount of people that
as the Australian population.
Yeah, it's about 22 million.
Yeah, 22 million people or something in Australia. Less people than Greater New York in this country, which is about the size of the United States, which is quite amazing in itself.
The figure that I always heard was America is 5% of the world's population and 25% of the world's prison population.
Yeah, amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And they're all private jails as well.
Yeah.
And many
Well,
of them are probably, non-violent offenders getting busted for pot.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So, I mean, they make everything illegal as much as they can, so it becomes possible for anybody to break a law at any time of the day or night, so they can fill the prison system. Because if the prison system's privatised, and really it's all about bums on seats, you've got to have people in there in order to make the system profitable. And the people who run it are running it for a profit. I mean, they get paid by the government for every prisoner that they've got in there. So once you're in there, it's in their interest to keep you in there. They don't want you to leave, because when you leave, they don't get paid to have you in there. And they need as many people as they can. If the jails are getting a little bit empty, they just talk to the government enacts a few more laws, makes it illegal to cross the street or whatever, and so they get more people in there. I mean, soon it's going to be illegal to do anything that even resembles being human. They're basically outlawing humanity. Everything we do, it's total criminalisation. So if everybody is a criminal, then at last everybody is uniform in the eyes of the law. And that's what the government wants, because then they can understand you, they can put you in a box and they can categorise you and they can control you. And most people don't break laws. And so what you do is you make everything illegal, virtually everything, so that it makes it possible for anybody to break a law even if they're not a criminal. And that's what they do. They've been doing it for a very long time.
I've got a feeling that a lot of that just comes down to money. I've just been reading an amazing book by Charles Eisenstein called Sacred Economics, and he's talking about how the usury interest financial system has demanded that more and more common property, more and more of the commons, has had to be converted into commodities to appease the bank's need for continually ever increasing amounts of money to pay off the debt, which can never be fully paid off. And that the prison service has just been one more kind of last-ditch attempt to squeeze some more financial worth out of our system. That's why that we're now paying each other to look after our children, something that was only 20, 30 years ago, not that common. People looked after their own children or each other's children. And now childcare, it has become something that you have. We've got no more physical resources on the world, on the planet, to actually convert into some sort of financial an amount of money. And now we're having to cage people up to turn them into slaves. I mean, we've obviously been existing in open prisons for a long time now.
There is no resource on this planet worth more than us. So
that's it.
We're the biggest resource here, because it's us that does everything. Gold doesn't do nothing by itself. We have to dig it out of the ground. We are the biggest resource. And our children.
If you're paying other people to bring up your children, you're just creating division between the families, and you're not doing the job you're meant to be doing.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, again, they've made everything illegal, so you can't look after somebody's children unless you've got some sort of childcare ticket or something. You know what I mean? You've got to be approved by the government. You've got to have a piece of paper to say that you can do this, which you have to pay for. You have to go and do a course. You've got to pay to get this particular categorisation, so you can look after your neighbour's children.
It doesn't matter how good you are at looking after children, or whether you're a paedophile or not, because you might not
absolutely
being a paedophile, so you won't have a record. But still, you've got a government piece of paper to say we haven't caught this person being a paedophile, and they want to look after children, so they seem like they probably would be all right to. We've made them do a test where they said, "Do you like children?" and they ticked the right box. So they give you this asinine test to see how much you care about children or old people if you're working with these people.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. Like I said, they make everything illegal. See, so that you've got to start spending money in order to look after children, and then those who want their children looked after have to spend money by paying you, because obviously you've got to pay to be alive, and the cost of living goes up and up and up and up. So it takes people's ability to give to the people around them away from them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't just go and look after somebody's kids because time is money. Because otherwise, how are you going to pay your rent if you're constantly looking after people's children for them? Well, you're not going to be able to pay your rent and live, so you have to charge these people money to do it. So you've got that little talismanic ritual going on.
Yeah.
And it's all about extracting as much as you can from everybody else and keeping everybody on the treadmill. That's what it's all about. A wonderful quote by Ayn Rand actually said, there's no way to rule innocent men, and that the only power government has is the power to crack down on criminals. And if there aren't enough criminals, then they make them. The government declares so many things to be a crime that it becomes impossible for people to live without breaking laws. And that's what they do. It's even with childcare. I mean, you're looking after someone's children, you haven't got a ticket, or you're breaking the law. Well, hang on, 20 years ago I was just being a friendly neighbour, you know? And they've taken all that away from society. And it's all about milking the resources and controlling all the real estate, all the actual land and all the resources. So the only way we can get money to pay to be alive is to rape the planet that we live on, you know? And these people just keep going until it's a lunar landscape, and then they'll be looking for another planet to exploit.
So, Max,
You know?
what about the alternative currencies then? Have you been picking much up about this?
Well, look, you know, alternative currencies, I mean, it doesn't really matter what we use for currency. We could use pieces of paper with government stamps on it. It doesn't matter. What matters is the interest that's attached to the pieces of paper that we use.
This is what I mean. This is what I mean. There are alternative forms of organising money without interest attached to it.
Well, that's what we should be doing. I mean, I actually think Mike Montagn's mathematically perfected economy would work. But, I mean, eventually I'd like to see us eliminate the whole thing. I mean, a lot of ancient cultures never had currency. They never had, nobody had to pay to be alive. Why do we have to pay to live on the planet we were born on? Who thought that stuff up? How could we create a system that we use to live by, you know, a set of rules that we used to live by, and yet we become enslaved to these rules? We employ politicians to manage our infrastructure for us, and all they do is create more and more rules, which makes it harder and harder for us to be human. And you end up with a system where that has been put in place to serve humanity's best interest, but humanity becomes the most expendable thing within the parameters of the system. So how the hell did that work? How did that happen? So they've turned everything up on its head, and they've educated critical thinking out of people's minds over a series of generations. And so people just don't think about this stuff. And then once you've got them there, you keep them on the treadmill, keep raising prices. And nobody has time to think about this stuff because they've all got to go and gather as much paper as they can in order to pay to be alive. You know, it's a very, very clever system, but eventually you get people so busy that they literally don't have time to think about their surroundings. They never have time to stop, take a deep breath, and really look around and take in the bigger picture of what's going on.
Oh yeah, no more so than now these days.
Oh, absolutely, and it's just going to get more and more this way until people notice what's going on. But I mean, eventually they will, because it'll get to the point where, you know, they'll just collapse. I mean, they'll be just...
Absolutely. I mean, the type of people who are now questioning things are, you know, I wouldn't like to say below the sort of level we're at, sort of thing, but certainly more sort of common gardener. People are starting to question a lot more, which is a good thing.
Oh, absolutely. People that are fully locked within the matrix are starting to realise that, hang on, they're spending all of their life just struggling to be alive. And that is not what life is about. And why would life be this way? Why do prices go up? Why is it so hard to live these days? And really, when you look at it, you use the analogy of an ounce of gold. You find that nothing has gone up. Nothing has actually gone up in value in the last 100 years. Because 100 years ago, you could walk into a shop with an ounce of gold. You could buy a suit and a hat and a pair of shoes with an ounce of gold. You know, and you can still walk into a shop now with an ounce of gold. You can come out with a suit and a hat and a pair of shoes for that ounce of gold. So nothing's gone up in value. It's just that back then the gold was worth, you know, $1.20 in paper, and now it's worth $1,500 in paper. You know, but it's just paper. And it isn't that anything's gone up in value, it's that the paper has gone down in value because there's so much of it in circulation now, and it's all got interest attached to it. It's a scam. It's a complete scam. Yeah. If you took the interest off the paper, you know, you took the interest off the paper that we pass around to each other, or the interest off the credit cards that we use, and it'd all be, everything would cost an 18th of what it does now. So we think we're taking out loans when we go to the bank. We think all this stuff's happening. We think the bank actually lends us money. We don't realise that we create the money ourselves. When we take out a loan, when we use a credit card, when we sign anything, we create money ourselves, and then the bank tricks us into giving all that money to them, plus interest. It's a complete scam, absolute scam, and it's designed to milk all the wealth of the earth and transfer it all into the hands of those who issue the currency and control the currency. That's what's going on. And that's who controls the governments. All governments are there. They're just CEOs of the various corporations around the world. And they just keep the people on the treadmill feeding the banking system, which all basically goes back to the Vatican. The Vatican controls the world. I mean, all roads lead to Rome. That's just the way it is. Even the Zionist wing, which is simply a political arm of the Khazarian Empire. That's all Zionism is. It's a political mindset. It's not like it's a cult or a society or anything. It's a political persuasion. Okay, that's what Zionism is. And it all goes back to the Khazarians. It all goes back to the Vatican. I mean, every country in the world uses the Roman calendar. That should speak volumes to everybody. You know, that's who controls the world. It's the Roman system that's been in place for hundreds and hundreds of years. And it went back right through to the Babylonian system. If you really look at the Roman church, the Vatican church, it's basically the Church of Babylon. It's the same thing. It's just got a different face on it. Even with the infrastructure, even with the statues and the buildings and everything they use, if you look at America now, like you look at the statues, look at the Statue of Liberty, look at the shape of the buildings and all this sort of stuff, you know, these big ponderous pillars out the front in all the government buildings and all this sort of stuff. It looks like Roman buildings. It looks like the Colosseum from Rome. And you can trace that way back, and it's the same as the architectural structure of Babylon. So if you were an archaeologist 1,000 years from now and you started digging through the rubble and you looked at the structure of our society, you'd say, well, this is the same culture that existed all the way through from Babylon right up to the 20th century, because it's the same buildings, it's the same statues, it's all the same symbolism, so it's the same culture. And that's something people don't notice.
Same Ionian pillars they use.
Yeah, absolutely, and even the Statue of Liberty, which is the goddess Semiramis. Yeah. I mean, it just goes way back to Babylon. It's the same culture. It just puts on a new face, and people don't realise that it's there, but it is. It's the same system. It's the same culture, and we build this temporary accommodation to live in, and because it's temporary, we've got to keep repairing it, which means we've got to keep milking all the resources out of the planet. We don't need half the stuff.
Not if we use hempcrete.
Well, hemp would really work. I mean, if they legalised hemp, they would eliminate most of the most pollutive industries on the planet. Get rid of the plastics industry, the timber industry, lots of stuff you would get rid of if you eliminated hemp. The cotton industry. I mean, if you legalised hemp. Yeah. And also, hemp seed is the only whole food that you can eat. Yeah. Hemp seed actually sustains humankind perfectly. It's got a perfect balance of nutrients and minerals in it. It's got more omega-3 than fish oil. So it's a wonderful plant. It's a planet-saving plant. Absolutely. And that's why it's illegal, because if it was legal, you wouldn't be able to exploit the human race the way you do now.
Mac, this illegal you keep on going about, I think it's about time we cut the wings off, don't you?
Well, yeah, it would be good. See, that's the thing. People have forgotten. Well, people are taught to respect that which is legal, when really they should be respecting that which is lawful. And that which is legal is not that which is lawful. What legal is legislation, L-E-G, legislation, legal, L-E-G. So what is legal is that which is legislated into being by politicians, and they do that in an attempt to replace actual law with the will of politicians. That's what they do. Yeah. And then we've got stuff like coal seam gas mining going on in this country, and we're hearing that we've got no legal remedy, no legal recourse. Well, you'll never have legal remedy, but you do have lawful remedy. And that's where you have to take it. You've got to take it back to common law and approach everything from a state of common law and realise that you have to obey that which is lawful. And in that which is lawful, if a law has been broken and there's an injured party, very often there isn't an injured party. If a legal guideline has been broken, there's very often no injured party. So no law has actually been broken. If there's nobody hurt, nobody damaged, then how have you broken a law? And people need to adopt that mindset when dealing with this coal seam gas issue and stuff, you know. I mean, the police come around and they'll stop the protest and say, you know, what you're doing is illegal. And we can turn that around and say, well, but what we're doing is actually lawful. Because if we've broken a law, there must be an injured party, whereas what this mining company is doing, that there is an injured party because they're destroying the water table, and the injured party is humanity. And the government that's supporting the coal seam gas company destroying the water table, they've broken a law as well because there is an injured party, which is humanity. And you supporting these people as police officers, you are also complicit in breaking the law because there is an injured party in your actions. And we, the people, demand remedy. We want remedy for the law that has been broken. We're not interested in your legal guidelines or your legalities. What we are interested in is what is lawful. And that's what we employ you people to do. And if you're not going to do it, then you all need to step down because there's a lot more of us than there is of you, and we're not going to allow you to do it anymore. But we can only do this if we have the support of our community. This is what I've been saying for so long now. You've got to put down these barriers, operate in a state of empathy, and connect with your community. And I'm not saying, oh, if you move into a state of love, you'll change the world. You know, I'm not saying anything like that. I mean, I love everybody. I really do, because I love and respect humanity. There isn't anybody that I don't love, even the bad guys. I love them because they know not what they do. They are so locked into their left brain reality that they think what they're doing is necessary because it says on these pieces of paper that they have to perform this way. But this is pathological thinking. It's a pathological system. It's a psychopathic system, and it infects people's minds like a pathogen because people are trained that they have to operate within these legal guidelines. And that's where it all falls down. Gee, I feel really bad about throwing you out of your house, but I have no choice. Yeah. It says on this piece of paper I have to throw you out of your house. Well, hang on, you do have a choice. You question who gave you the piece of paper. You question why the system would make humanity the most expendable thing within the parameters of the system. That's what you do. But you don't do that because you're trained to think pathologically, because you've been educated and indoctrinated into this system. Mm-hmm. So we need to change our mindset. We're not going to fix anything until we change our perspective of reality. That's the most important thing we can do. And then we can simply step away from the system. Stop supporting it. Stop giving it our energy. But again, we can only do that if we have the support of our community. So you've got to get to know your neighbours. I mean, we have people who have relationships online with people across the world, and they know all these hundreds of people across the world, but they don't know the people next door, you know? And so when there is a problem in their neighbourhood or in their local community, they don't have any solidarity. They don't have anybody banding together to stand up against the tyranny that is being imposed upon them because they live in a divided society. And it's all done by design.
Yep, that's true. I mean, the only time that we've been together on our street was when some poor 14-year-old kid was getting arrested by about 14 police officers. And everybody came out to watch it happen, sort of thing, and I did actually say to somebody, oh, it's nice to see the community get together.
Well, yeah. 14 police officers to rescue a 14 to arrest a 14-year-old kid. Or one police officer for every year, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely crazy.
And a shield and a baton. It was crazy.
Well, that's where the people need to go over there and say, hey, what's the problem?
Yeah.
This is our community. This is a 14-year-old child. What are you doing? How is this child a threat to our community? And, he's broken some law. Well, really, what law? Where's the injured party? Show me the injured party. Bring the injured party out so we can see that it's an actual law and not simply a legal guideline. Because legislation is not law. Legislation and statute regulations granted the power of law through consent of the governed. Yeah. So who are you people? What are you doing to this kid?
Well,
he does have a chainsaw.
If the mother calls the police on him, then...
No, it was a jigsaw he had, Max.
It was absolutely ridiculous.
But it was crazy.
They had. Yeah.
But it was
out on the street. He was out on the street with a chainsaw.
No, it was a jigsaw. You know what a jigsaw is?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a thing you plug in, sort of thing. But it was some weird thing that his parents had called the police on him. And,
there you go. If you call in help from the authorities, then that's what happens.
Yeah, I'm not kidding, man. There was, two mini buses that are geared up for riot stuff with a shield that goes down over it.
But they use simple
So, yeah.
situations like that
Yeah.
to practice on.
Yeah, I've heard
Because
you
they
saying that
know
before, Max, just to get
that-
people used to these kind of...
Yeah, to get people used to it, and
And
also
to be
to
honest-
practice for when, you know, they have to deal with people who are actually trying to protect their own homes, not
It was a
because some
ridiculous-
stupid little 14-year-old
It was a ridiculous show of strength.
grim
Well,
and
it
his
was,
mother
it
can't
was
deal with him.
also, you know, talking about community, it was just like entertainment.
Well, that, yeah,
And
it was like a stop.
I know I speak to my, I've got good neighbours and that lot. But like Max saying, you know, building community and trying to pass information on to people, it's quite hard, you know, because there's like this kind of cognitive dissonance. People don't want to actually give up their kind of paradigm of where they are. You know, that you're working all day long, and you come home, you watch the football, you turn the TV on, put the plasma on, which you what slave to get, and someone comes along and tells you, look, you know, you know, talk about something like trust law or anything. It's so hard to try and crack that nut, if you know what I mean. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I mean, people are confident and they're comfortable in their enslavement. You know, they're comfortable in their little prison. They're comfortable getting up knowing that today is going to be just the way it was yesterday, and I don't actually have to do anything. Let's go and make my paper, and I'll be right. And if I make more paper than the guys next door, well, I can have more stuff than them, and I'll be a better person
It's
than
all
them.
about stuff. It's all about stuff.
We've been taught that acquisition is the meaning of life. It's all about stuff, and it's all about social status. The more stuff you've got, the higher you are on the social ladder, and the better you are, the more important you are. You're a better person. You know,
Tell someone that they don't have to pay tax. They find it offensive.
Yeah, I know. They're comfortable in their enslavement. They're absolutely comfortable in their prison, you know.
Offer them free energy
People
as
don't
well.
want-
They don't want to know.
Well, people don't want the responsibility of having to look after themselves. They don't want the responsibility of self-responsibility, really. They don't want that. They want someone else to look after them. They want someone else to take care of things for them.
Isn't that what a democracy really is, though?
The world's just so complicated. No, I don't want to think about that negative stuff. Just give me my TV and my stereo and my new car, and I'm happy. I can go to the park with the kids on the weekend. It's all good. Leave me alone. You know?
We experienced that. Me and Badgett were handing out flyers for Judy Wood's talk in Brighton here, and we were handing out the flyers saying, get your free energy here. Free energy, you know, don't pay for your gas and your electric. And people walking past saying, no thank you. That's policy.
Yeah, well, you're asking me to think outside of the box? No, thank you. No, thank you. I'm not allowed to think outside of the box. I'm not prepared to think outside of the box. There may be self-responsibility involved. Don't take me there, please. I'm happy with the government looking after me. They come and feed me. It's all good. I like my little cage. They come and they change the straw now and then, so leave me alone.
What was that point that you were making there, John? I think you made a point about democracy.
Well, I believe that's what a democracy is, really. It's giving up your rights to someone else, isn't it, instead of being in a republic. Democracy means giving your rights away, giving your legal title away, and ending up with equitable title instead. So the government actually controls everything in the country, including, you know, if you think you own a house or a car, you don't. I think America had that.
A democracy is basically mob rule. You know, in a democracy, 51% of the people control the other 49% of the people. You need a democratic system within a republic, so you could have a referendum on any issue or whatever. But in a republic, you know, 99% of the people cannot take away the rights of even 1% of the people. You've got unalienable rights that are granted to you. But what they do with most democratic systems is they trick people into believing that the rights that they have are privileges that are granted to them by government. They've done this fantastically with America. Actually, like when you read the American Bill of Rights, you read this and you think, this is a fantastic document. This is really good. You know, I feel glad to be a human under the guidelines of this document, because what they've actually written in the Bill of Rights is they've listed every right that you actually have as a human being, and this is who you are. That's why it's such a beautiful document. But what they've done is they've tricked people into believing that these rights were granted to people by government, but they're not. these are rights that are unalienable rights. But they trick people into thinking that these rights are a privilege that are given to you by government, and so therefore this gives the government the ability to remove every single one of those rights from you. That's what they've done with the Bill of Rights. It's quite an insidious document, actually.
They're doing the same sort of thing over here by slowly slipping us into the European Union, hopefully without anybody really noticing. And they're trying to come up now with a referendum for us to join in with, to say whether or not we want to stay within the European Union or not. There's talk about whether this referendum's going to go ahead, but if it goes ahead, just the fact of it going ahead will be it, because that will be us acquiescing to the fact that we've actually acknowledged that we're actually part of something that we can actually jump out of or stay in. But the fact that we've actually acknowledged that we're actually part of it
already.
It already is actually acknowledging that we've accepted their authority, and their authority has kind of been placed around us without actually them asking if we want it or not.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you elect these representatives, these politicians, and they presume to act on your behalf, but they do things that you don't want them to do. So how on earth are they acting on your behalf, you know? And the European Union and the introduction of the euro, all of this was designed to get the whole of Europe basically in debt to the IMF and milk their economies from them, milk all their resources from them. Look at the debt that Ireland's been given, you know, to pay off the IMF. There's no reason the Irish people should be paying any of this. What's it got to do with them?
Yeah.
You know? It's got nothing to do with the actual people, but the governments sign you up for this stuff, and yet really they're not acting on your behalf at all. You don't employ them for that. They just do this and say, oh, we're the rulers and we know best, and so this is what we're going to do, and you just have to cop it.
Yeah.
No, we don't. Sorry, we don't, you know?
What's
And
the situation, Max, with Australia paying off Greece's debt that you brought up one?
Yeah, with the carbon tax. Yeah, and Julian Gillard's decided to throw all this money at Greece and help them pay off their debt because the Australian economy is so strong, which basically gets Greece in debt to Australia. And because we're bringing in carbon tax in Australia, we'll be coming in June, then we're going to be basically trading with the world with carbon credits. So if you've got an economy that's got a country that's got a collapsed economy, such as Greece will end up being a completely collapsed economy, and you have a massive bill to Australia and you have to pay that off, and Australia deals in carbon credits, then how are you going to pay the bill? You're going to have to introduce carbon tax in Greece and start trading carbon credits with Australia. And because Greece's economy will be crashed and they're trading in carbon credits, well, any country in Europe that wants to deal with Greece, you're going to have to do it with carbon credits, which means you're going to have to pay carbon tax.
For the European Union, basically?
Absolutely. It's just bringing it in the back door. Yeah. That's all it is. You know, you brought it in Australia, and now you get a country in Europe massively indebted to Australia when Australia is dealing with cap and trade. So that's the way you have to deal with it. If you've got a collapsed economy and you don't have any viable money to use, then that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to use carbon credits. So it's very, very insidious, but you can see how they're sneaking it in the back door into Europe, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, yeah, because I'd watched that carefully, sort of thing, and the whole carbon credit thing sort of died with Gordon Brown over here, because he was the big sort of, the big champion of it. And this new...
Well, it might end up being phased out in this country. You never know. Like, I mean, I know it's all theatre, but I don't think the Labor government in this country will make it another term. I really don't think they will. But then, I mean, and the opposition at the moment is saying is totally against the carbon tax. But of course, this is theatre. You watch when the opposition gets in, they go, well, look, we were against it, but having looked at the books, we're going to have to leave. They do this all the time. They always backflip, so it doesn't matter. It's all part of the same agenda. But, I mean, what we saw in Queensland and Australia was a massive upset with the Labor government. There virtually isn't a Labor government in Queensland anymore. Yeah. They just had the biggest landslide in Australian political history. The Labor government got absolutely ousted, and the seats that they got in the Parliament was like 43 to 7.
Yeah.
You know, 7 seats. You can't even have a government with 7 seats. That isn't enough to have a government. So there is no Labor government. There is no Labor Party in Queensland anymore. It virtually doesn't exist in Queensland anymore.
And Australia's been traditionally a Labor country, hasn't it? Politically.
Well, what was that?
Australia's been traditionally a sort of Labor government.
Well, it kind of varies. I mean, Liberal Labor, it's all theatre. It's all two sides of the same coin. Yeah. We had John Howard in control for about 10 years, and that was a Liberal government, but all the states were Labor governments.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting. We had a Liberal federal government, but all Labor government in all the various states.
We had that all the way through the Thatcher years. We had sort of Labour councils with a Tory government. It was very odd.
Yeah.
John, could you mute your mic? Unless you want to ask a question, that is. Sorry, it's just we're getting your heavy breathing coming through.
Beg your pardon. Yes,
John.
Maybe he's got some video on there that he's not telling us about. But, yeah, I mean, it's all theatre anyway. The whole lot of it's theatre. But, I mean, the danger, of course, we've seen in Queensland now is that there virtually isn't an opposition. So you've got a one-party state. Watch that.
Yeah.
You know, that's blatant dictatorship. And the reason that the Labor government got ousted was because they've sold most of Queensland's resources to overseas. They've basically been selling off the resources of the state in order to cover the debt that they've got, because Queensland is virtually broke, which is why the whole country's been sold off for coal seam gas mining and stuff.
Yeah.
And this is Australia's food bowl. Australia's main food bowl is a place called the Darling Downs in Queensland, one of our major food bowls, and that has basically been earmarked for coal seam gas mining. So this is absolutely shocking, and all the money that's coming from the coal seam gas mining is going to China. It's all going overseas.
Yeah.
So it doesn't serve anybody's interests at all.
Recently over in a little village not far from Brighton, an American company got fracking rights. So there, all the community got up in arms about it, and I think they've sort of tried. I think they've postponed it for a while now.
Well, they've got a license to do test wells.
Yeah.
Well, test wells, when they do test wells, they just do the wells. I mean, once they find it, they do it. Once they drill, you know, the way they test is they drill a major hole and they send chemicals down there and they frack it and go, oh, look, there's gas. You know? Of course there's gas, because you just fracked all the shale under there, which released all the gas.
No, that was what the protest was about, was that they were going to do tests, and I think that the protest was to stop them from even doing tests there.
I mean, fortunately, there is an awful lot of word out there, Max, these days over here. And
I don't know. I think that up there, I think that the villagers have got to be really careful, because I think what the oil company are doing there is just putting their toe in the waters and just checking to see how much opposition they've got, and then they go and do a publicity campaign.
Yeah.
And you can soon peel from 100 people at a local meeting. You can soon peel a few people.
You wouldn't believe what the BBC sort of propagate, the way they've done a couple of shows on it, and it's really bad. It's really bad.
Every show I've heard from the BBC.
Some Oxford Don saying, well, it might cause an earthquake, but it's definitely all right to do it.
Yeah, but do you know what? They highlight the earthquake factor, and they never highlight the water pollution factor.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what it's doing, is destroying the groundwater, and water is the most important resource we have on this planet. And we don't need gas. Why don't they release some of these free energy devices? Why don't they start using the carbon energy device that Dustin Hall Tipping displayed at the TED Talks recently? You know, there's so many things that they can do that they don't do. And they tell us that, you know, we need to do all this because we need energy so much, but we don't. We don't need all this energy. We don't need gas. We don't need any of the stuff that they tell us we do need. It's all economically based. It's all, it'll be good for the economy. Well, no, it won't. How can you have an economy if you don't have water? You know, well, it'll be great for the economy, but it won't be any good for the people. Yeah. But that's right. It's the economy that's important, isn't it? Not the people.
Yeah.
You know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well,
it's ridiculous, you know. We support this fictional economic system at the expense of humanity. Yet the system was created to service humanity. Yeah. So how did that happen? How has it been turned on its head like this? You know, that's what people need to think about. They really, really need to step back and look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Realise that we're the top of the food chain. We created the government. We created society, and society created the government.
Yeah.
Then the government created all these statute laws. They're way down the food chain. You know, we are the top of society, and even under their laws. I mean, if you ever got to go to court, just take your Bible in there with you, because that's the law they use. It's all ecclesiastic law. I'm not religious, but hey, take a Bible in there.
Yeah.
Look on the first or second page of the Bible, and it says, God created man and gave man dominion over the earth. My name's man. Who are you people? How are you claiming that you have any dominion over me? How are you claiming to be a higher authority than God? And how is humanity and mankind, the most expendable thing within the parameters of the system? Yeah, even under your law, it's completely wrong. So who are you people? What are you doing, you know?
Well, it goes back to your, your analysis of psychopathic, corporations that run the world,
Well, it is. I mean, when you have psychopaths running the world, and you have psychopaths as the CEOs of major corporations, then their morality becomes the morality of the people over which they preside. So, and it affects the minds of people like a pathogen, because they believe they have to operate within the parameters of this system. I have to do what it says on this piece of paper. Look, it's got a fancy letterhead. So it must be law. So therefore, I have to make you expendable in order to balance my books. You know? It's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. And people believe they have to do it. Like, I have to, my hands are tied, I have no choice. Yes, you do have a choice. You always have a choice. Whether to behave morally or whether to behave pathologically. And people are trained to behave pathologically. That's the problem.
So, Max, do you think that everybody should be held responsible for their actions, whoever employs them, particularly public servants?
Well, absolutely. That's my approach to police officers, for example. I was out recently and a police officer asked me for identification. And I said to him, as soon as he walked up to me and said something to me, I said, excuse me, is there a controversy here? And he said, no, I'm just doing my job. And I said, your job? Isn't your job apprehending criminals? Have you approached me under the assumption that I'm a criminal? And he said, no, look, mate, I don't want any problems. I'm just doing my job. I just need to see some ID. And I said, some ID? I said, I'm pretty sure my father fought a war 50 years ago to prevent me from ever having to show ID to a police officer. You know, and then another cop walked up, is there a problem here? I said, no, just this gentleman's asking me for identification, and I'm not sure that I actually have to show him any. He said, oh, you do, mate, it's the law. I said, really? What law? He said, look, it's the law, mate. I said, I know you said it's the law. Could you tell me what law? I'd like to hear the wording of the law, please. And he said, well, I don't know the actual wording of the law, mate. And I said, well, so you're out here enforcing a law, and you don't even know what that law is. You know, and he's going, no, look, mate, we don't want any problems, just show us some ID. And I said, okay, well, is this a request or a demand? And he said, it's a request. And I said, well, if it's a request, that means I have a choice, and after careful consideration, I've decided that I won't be acquiescing to your request. Thank you for the offer. And then the other cop said, well, it's a demand. And I looked at him and I said, really? Are you a slave trader? And he said, no, I'm a police officer. I said, well, if you're making a demand of me, I said, Are you here representing the Crown? He said, yes, I'm representing the Crown. I said, okay, well, I'm going to need your name and badge number if you wish to proceed past this point, because I need you to know that if the Crown chooses to exercise a right of ownership over me through you and your enforcement of one of their statutes, then I intend to hold you, the man within the uniform, personally responsible for your actions, and I will be seeking damages against you under sections 268 and 270 of the Australian Criminal Code, which specifically deals with slavery and says that no individual may be compelled by any other individual to perform any task or action against his will. And that is the actual wording of the law. So if you are asking me to perform an action against my will, I intend to hold you, the man within the uniform, personally responsible for your actions because you have a moral obligation to uphold the law. And so if you want to proceed, I will show you my ID, but I will be seeking damages against you. And they basically walked away.
I think you got it now.
One of them went,
No, well, they kind of walked away because, you know, I mean, it gets to the stage, you know, if you're doing this in a place and you've got people around you and they're listening, well, you're educating the people around you, and they don't like that. I mean, if you try pulling this off when you're by yourself and you get a cop car pull up and there's 3 cops in it and they get out and start doing this to you, and you pull a line like this, they'll probably just tase you, throw you in the back and say you created a problem, and they'll put you in jail. But if you're there with a bunch of people around you, they walk away because they don't like you educating the people around you. But no police officer can demand that you perform any action, because that's slavery. You can't make a demand of me that I perform a task or action against my will. I mean, who are you? You're representing the Crown. You're exercising a right of ownership. And I've said to other cops, I mean, are you aware of the definition of terrorism? Terrorism is defined by the Oxford English Dictionary, the dictionary that defines the English language. It states in that dictionary that terrorism is violence or the threat of violence carried out against civilians as a means of coercion. Yeah. So you are telling me if you're threatening me with violence or loss of liberty, that's terrorism. You know, and are you a public servant? They go, no, I'm not a public servant. I'm a member of the New South Wales Police Department. I go, really? Well, that would indicate that the New South Wales Police Department is not even a department of government, but it's in fact a private company. So that contracts to government. So you must be operating within corporate law, which is contract law, which means that you are here attempting to enforce a non-existent contract against a person, and you're prepared to use terrorism to do it. And you call yourself a police officer. You dare to wear a uniform and call yourself a police officer and a servant of society and an upholder of the law? This is ridiculous. I mean, what you are doing, I mean, I'm sitting here in quiet enjoyment. I'm not doing anything wrong. You've come up and accosted me and asked me to show you identification and prove who I am. I don't need to prove to you who I am. I already know who I am. And if I'm not involved in any controversy and you're not arresting me, what on earth are you talking to me for? You know? And they don't like it. But if you do it with a crowd of people, there's nothing they can do. There's absolutely nothing they can do because you don't give them jurisdiction. You know? Well, that's the approach that I have to all of them, you know.
Well, when you're on your own, you use different words, don't you? You sort of...
when you're on your own, you can say
I accept your demand on the providing you give me £2,000 sterling. You'll make a contract with them, sort of thing.
Well, you know, I can say, you know, I'll ask them, you know, are you going to arrest me if I don't show you identification? They go, yes, I am. And I say, well, I'll show you identification under duress. But I mean, I don't agree with what you're doing. But I'm not quite as belligerent if I'm on my own, because obviously I'm vulnerable if I'm on my own. You have 3 burly cops there.
So have you never tried the conditionally accepting sort of line?
No, I don't even really go that way. I just go. I stand in who I am as a sovereign, because I know I am sovereign. I don't have to prove I'm sovereign. You know, you have to prove to me that I'm not. Yeah. You know, if you're claiming that I'm subject to your statute regulations, show me proof of claim. Yeah. But you know, if a police officer accosts you and you end up, you know, in their custody or something, what you want to do is get out of their custody as quickly as possible.
Absolutely.
Deal with it through the court system. You know, and if you're going to court, you can deal with it there pretty well in the court. You can get yourself out of court in 5 or 10 minutes if you know how to do it. Yeah. But I mean, your goal, if you're in the custody of police officers and you don't have a reasonable amount of people around you to back you up, what you should do is get out of their custody as quickly as possible. Get out of their area as quickly as possible, because they will hurt you because they can. Yeah. You know,
and they want to a lot of the time.
Well, a lot of the time they want to. A lot of them have got chips on their shoulders. You know, even the profiling of police officers has changed dramatically in the last couple of decades. A lot of the people that are employed as police officers now wouldn't have made it through the profiling 20 or 30 years ago, because they would have been considered to be too sociopathic, too psychopathic, too violent, too prone to violence, and that's not what we want from cops. But now it is what they want from cops. They want people who are completely devoid of empathy and who are prepared to go and brutalise and terrorise other people to make them comply with statute regulations that they really have no right to be doing to people or enforcing on people. But that's the new cop that we've got now. You know, it's all about statute regulations. It's not about law.
Although I was speaking in London the other day to some very nice policemen. And,
there's still great cops. There is still nice cops around.
Yeah, they were just your ordinary guys, joined the police force. Very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. There are. But when you get your riot squad and your guys in black Kevlar, these usually aren't very nice people, you know.
Yeah.
And again, even when you get a lot of these nice guys and you get them in this this big throng of group think, and they're all in the same uniform, and they've got all their peers around them.
Yeah.
They all start resonating together, and they
They're
start
acting
supporting
under the
each
group
other.
mentality, aren't they?
Well, when they put that uniform on, they're representing a false entity anyway, sort of thing, so it must do something to you.
Well, it does. Uniforms affect people energetically. You can go and try it yourself, even if you haven't got a uniform. Go to an op shop.
Kitchen's based on, yeah.
Oh, have we got another hour on the show, Nick?
Yeah, but the live show will finish in like an hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, in a minute and a half.
An hour and a half. Okay.
So you're okay, Max? We'll keep going for another hour, yeah?
We'll keep on going.
Yeah, I should be able to go for a little bit while longer, yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, they did those experiments, didn't they, in the, was it in the 60s, where they had the prison guards and the prisoners, and just ordinary people.
Stanford Prison Experiment, I think.
That was it, yeah. And they were just normal people, and the guys in the prison uniforms took their jobs extremely seriously and really completely repressed the people who were playing the part of the prisoners. And the guys who were playing the part of the prisoners, I think some of them had to go through treatment afterwards because they were so disturbed by the whole process.
Well, that's the thing. So uniforms affect people energetically. You go and put one on, go to an op shop and put on a uniform, and you'll find that it affects you energetically. You change. You feel different when you're wearing a uniform. Yes. And the more stripes and bars and medals and sigils you put on it, the more
you put one of those
feel.
fast food house uniforms on, and you just become a moron.
Well, this kind of leads into, I asked you earlier what you was about your new film. But how do you think this obviously ties into transhumanism?
Just the uniform is the first phase, isn't it?
That's taking you and putting on a different persona. You're being transhuman by, you're being uniform, you're being
one form.
Conformist in a uniform way, and acting in a hive mind mentality when you're in that.
And the
presence of people in the same
statutes
uniform.
and acts is just something that an actor does in a costume, and costumes and uniforms are similar things, aren't they?
So, Max, I was trying to lead you on to connection with transhumanism.
Well, transhumanism, I mean, that's where they want to take us. Basically, they want to turn humanity into the Borg, or something like the Borg, But they've got to dehumanise people to do that. And dehumanisation comes through with everything, like I was saying before, about the pathological nature of the system. This is dehumanisation. See, they dehumanise you by taking your rights away, and then they dehumanise the people who are enforcing legislation upon you, because they're not acting in a way that's human. They're supporting the system, not humanity. So it's dehumanisation more and more and more. They want you in uniform, they want you regulated, they want you regimented, because it takes away your humanity. And then they can offer you virtual freedom, like, headsets and virtual freedom online. The freedom that people have to do things online, they don't have the freedom to do any of this sort of stuff in real life. People are far more outspoken online, and they present far more of themselves to the world online than they normally do in their everyday life around them. Most people are pretty closed off. They have a little facade up that they show other people. This is me, this is who I am. And then they go online, they let their hair down, they can be anything they want because nobody can actually see them. Yeah. And this is all part of the dehumanisation process. And then it just prepares people for this transhuman agenda. Like you've got this whole hive link up online. You've got this it's almost like the central nervous system of a new humanity, the internet. It really is, and it's broken down the barriers and made the world smaller, and you can suddenly communicate with everybody online, but you don't know how to communicate with people on the street when you meet them. You've lost that face-to-face interaction, because people judge you when they see you face-to-face. And you're trained to think this way: if I don't look a certain way or act a certain way, people are going to judge me as a lesser person. So it's a lot easier for me to be who I want to be online, because I'm not judged online, because nobody can see the way I look or the way I smell or the way my hair is, or whether I've got pimples or whatever. So people don't judge you online. You're just another person. And if you can type the right things, they think, oh, this is an intelligent and caring person because he types the right letters here, So you can create a completely false personality online. And that's what people do, and they become more comfortable in that. And then as they start taking more and more of your rights away from you online, then they start introducing new things to you, you know, like the microchips and the virtual headsets and TVs now with facial recognition and all this sort of stuff. And it gradually moves you into this machine-type culture. And then they can say, well, look, you don't even have to, it's a real hassle having to dial things on your phone. Wouldn't you be better off with a microchip and just being able to think things, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, they get it more and more personalised, and they make things faster and faster and faster. And you've got kids now that are annoyed because a download's going to take 60 seconds. Oh, my God, 60 seconds? It's going to take a whole minute for me to get this thing that I want. What's going on, you know? What am I going to do for the next minute, you know? And so it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Stuff that you used to have to save up money for, right away for, and you might get in a month. Now you get in a minute, and it's too long. It's taking too long, you know? So it needs to be more and more instantaneous, more gratification, instantaneous gratification, which is what the ego wants. That's all the ego is about, is instantaneous gratification.
Yeah,
so they're giving this to people online, and they're making it more and more attractive for people to want to do this, you know?
You absolutely give up the sort of a function in your brain when you do stuff like that as well, don't you? Making the point of, like, years ago when we had landlines, I could remember, like, 10 or 15 friends, his telephone number in my head, dial it, but now it's on my speed dial on my mobile phone. I can't remember anyone's number. Not even my home phone number sometimes.
Well, that's another thing as well. I mean, all of our information now, we've lost, not many people collect books anymore. Not many people write journals anymore. They write blogs. They save all their information on disk.
Yeah.
You know, and they store all their information on their computer. What happens when the grid goes down? What happens when the electrical grid goes down? Suddenly you have humanity. All the knowledge is lost. All the knowledge of our past centuries and all the knowledge of everything up to this point, it's all lost. Unless you've got a decent library in your house of all this stuff in hard copies of it, then it's all lost. It all exists in a virtual world. All of humanity's knowledge is virtual.
And everything that's online, sort of like things like Wikipedia, it can all be edited, so it's all revisionist. So it's like the 1984 kind of epic of changing the history. And it can be done.
Well, absolutely. I mean, Wikipedia is interesting, but anybody can go and edit it. Yeah. So how reliable is it? You know? I mean, I did go in there and change an entry on Wikipedia, and if they approve of what I wrote, they'll put it in there. Well, who's they? You know?
Yeah.
You know, what if what I wrote isn't right at all, but it just resonated with them? Oh, yeah, that sounds good. We'll put that in there.
It's be for truth.
Exactly. So how can we trust any of the knowledge that we've got there? You know, and we're losing our connection to that which is real, and we're becoming enslaved to a virtual world. And now they're taking more and more of that away from us, right? So it's limiting the human experience more and more. It's limiting human knowledge more and more. And it's all being done by design. And what they want to do really is merge man with machine. They want people to have implants. They want people to have their mobile phone in their head so they can just dial in their mind and think the conversation to the person that they're calling, you know. Just do it through virtual telepathy, you know. And that's what they're trying to do. And it's pretty scary stuff. And when you look at things such as Transcendent Man, the film by Ray Kurzweil, where he talks about how very soon everything will be infused with nanotechnology, even the rocks and the trees and the plants will become intelligent, and then we'll send out these...
Yeah, they have self-repairing concrete, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And then we'll send these nanoparticulates. We'll go into space, we'll be sending nanoparticulates infused with artificial intelligence out to space to find new worlds that we can assimilate, basically. Now, they want to send nanoparticulates out into the world and assimilate the rest of the universe in order to raise our intellect, because man is the center of the universe. That's what the transhumanists believe, and that's where they're taking the human race. And they're doing it without the knowledge of the people, without the consent of the people. But that's what they believe. See, you know, as human consciousness evolves and becomes more and more closer to source, they want to control that. They want to turn it down this machine, technological evolution, because that's controllable. You know, they don't want to lose control over humanity. And people think they're getting free and they're getting more and more free with this internet and everything, but what they're doing is they're just getting molded more and more into this technological way of thinking so they can be controlled. It's all about control. It's always about control. Everything the government does is about control. They don't do anything that will benefit humankind at all. They give you little tidbits, little things. Oh, look, here's a new park, here's a new sidewalk, here's a new this, here's a tax benefit. You know, and so you think, oh wow, this guy's good. So they bribe the population with tax benefits. You know, oh, we're gonna give you more stuff than the other government does, and so there's more financial incentive for you to vote for these people. They trick you into all this sort of stuff, and it's very, very clever the way they do it. But that's where they're going. It's fully merging man with machine. That's what they want to do. They're doing it very, very gradually because you have to do this sort of stuff gradually because a lot of people won't like it. But you do it over generations. The new kids that are coming out now, a lot of these would welcome transhumanism. They welcome having implants. It's too much of a hassle having to dial your phone. Too much of a hassle having to pull a credit card out. A lot easier to just throw your arm into a slot and have it all done digitally, you know?
And
so,
the programming the kids, because I mean, it's all very well people of our generation waking up to this. It's the kids that have been bombarded from a very early age, you know. There's some schools in England where the kids have to put the thumbprint to get their meal.
Yeah, my daughter's school, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's all training, mate. It's all training, be retinal scans and thumbprints and all this sort of stuff. And as you get more people dependent upon an online society, you remove them of their humanity. You remove them of the ability to be able to communicate with people in a real way. Face-to-face communication. So you're basically taking the confidence away from these kids. Yeah. They don't know how to interact in the real world, but they know how to interact in the virtual world. And they prefer the virtual world because they feel more confident in that world. So these are the sort of kids and the minds that will openly embrace the merger of man with machine. So they've been trained to be this way and been trained to think this way by removing everything from them that makes them real. You know, and people, the kids today are just brutalised, mate. They're absolutely brutalised, you know, and a lot of them really don't feel confident. They've lost so many life skills of what we had when we were children. I mean, when I was a kid, everybody had a garden in their house, in their yards. The whole neighbourhood had veggie gardens in the backyard. And now you don't hardly see veggie gardens anywhere in people's backyards. It's all about flowers and nicely mowed lawn. And keep people a slave to the system, you know.
That's the kind. Over here, we do the sort of TV and media, the programs about gardening and all this. An awful lot of people now are putting decking and things like this over where they used to have green areas.
Or covering their whole sort of lawns in bark.
Yeah.
You know, so it's nice and soft to walk on.
Yeah, not having the grass beneath your feet, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, removing people more and more from nature, gradually.
Max, I've heard before about the original people of Australia, how they used to talk. Their kind of internet or telephone system was they used to use trees to communicate with one another. Do you know any more about that?
No, I don't really know about that. Unless there were like messages they'd carve on trees or.
No, they actually used to use the trees. They could, like, use the trees somehow to kind of find out how people were that were a long way away.
Crocodile Dundee used a vine, didn't he? And he span it around in the wind to make
Crocodile Dundee, right. That kind of thing.
Exactly.
Okay, I'll have to look into that a bit more then.
Yeah, you have to look into that one. I'm not quite sure about that one. I mean, there's probably something.
The Aboriginals probably had the...
Hey, Max.
Probably had the ability to communicate elementals of the trees and use them for communications.
Go ahead,
Could be.
Well, I was just going to ask, we were talking transhumanism a bit ago. I was wondering if you'd heard about the, I think it was Nokia. I might be wrong on that, but there was a tattoo that's being developed that vibrates when your cell phone goes off.
A tattoo?
Right.
Yeah.
No way.
Great. That's what we want, yeah.
RFID chip in a tattoo.
Well, it's there for life, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well,
but yeah, I guess...
I mean, at the moment, they chip horses and dogs and things like this, and if they want to put chips into humans, then that's just treating us like livestock in some way, isn't it?
Yeah, but they make it attractive by doing things like vibrating tattoos. Like,
Who wouldn't want one of those?
Well, your iPod is in the...
Depends where you...
That's what they do. Though. They make it attractive. The way they've got the new TV sets with facial recognition in them. Oh, it's so that we can identify up to 5 people in your room, and wherever you happen to be sitting in the room, we can make sure they get a perfect picture delivered to them in this 3D television that we're bringing out. Because it's a 3D TV, and you've got to be sitting in a certain, you've got to be looking at it from a certain angle for the 3D to work. So they will, we've got all these pixels here, and we can identify 5 different people in the room because we have 5 cameras in your television that are all operating with facial recognition on all the people in the room. And it's all for your benefit. It's all for technology. It's also you can enjoy the experience more. We're putting facial recognition and 5 cameras in your lounge room, and microphones in your television that are, voice recognition, facial recognition, and basically motion tracking from your television set. People are saying, "Oh, this is great. This is great. We've got 3D TV."
Yeah.
What else is it doing? It's completely. You've just put a huge surveillance system in your lounge room. I mean, and people don't look at it that way.
And probably taking out a loan so you can buy it. And you pay for it,
yeah. And you pay for it. You pay for the surveillance system in your lounge room. It's incredible the way they do it.
Yeah.
And people just lap it up. I think, "Oh, this is great. Technology is so wonderful now,"
I know, it's really mad. It's like kind of an axe murderer coming to the door with a big axe and blood dripping all over them, and they go, "Oh, you want to come and clean my kitchen? Why, yes, you're the perfect person for the job. Come in."
Look, you're already dirty and covered in blood, so it's not going to worry you cropping up meat and working with stuff.
Yeah, I mean, obviously do that kind of work. It just seems completely ridiculous that people would fall for that. I was thinking earlier on that about how the internet is it's a great resource, and you see an awful lot of people on the internet putting up their posts of impending doom and what have you, with 2012 and volcanoes and earthquakes and HAARP and all these kind of things. And I kind of these things, they just seem like people are walking down the high street and seeing a big for sale sign and being suckered in at the first.
It's a pick and mix pick and mix free for all. It's like sale on, half price. Come here now and buy these things, and people immediately kind of go. And so even sort of in the research realms, that you can kind of be stuck in this kind of very shallow pick and mix kind of level of research, or you can really try and kind of look a bit deeper for information, because there is really good information out there, but most of the time all you see spewed out is the same kind of stuff being kind of spewed here and there.
A lot of it's very controlled. I mean, a lot of people that even look into alternative research, it's like reading an adventure story for them. You're waiting for the next installment, for the next chapter, or what's happening, what are the elites doing, It's all, it's this big, huge mystery, They want to get to the bottom of the rabbit hole and find out who they are.
But
all this sort of stuff,
mystery is very much presented in a very easy-to-absorb form. It's like Miss Marple or something. A lot of what's on the internet, it's very easy to kind of see the cues you're meant to be taking for things. Oh, be angry at this. Oh, be amazed at this. Oh, think that this was actually something hidden, but actually it's just, it actually wasn't that hidden. If you've discovered it, you actually have to look a little bit deeper, but there are things that are well worth reading and looking into and making conclusions about, but it's all it's this idea that
I think there's a lot of room for creativity, and that creates there's a lot of energy in people waking up and finding out new information and presenting it in different ways. And I think that's great. That's creative output, but it causes distraction. And Max said something. I can't remember exactly what he said, but I think the thing is about looking for what the conclusion was or something, and who done it, and who was responsible.
Yeah.
It's more about looking for what you are, and who you are, And I think that's what distraction takes you away from it. You know?
They externalise it all. They externalise the whole lot and say there is them, there is this ruling elite. You know, they don't realise that the system works because of the perspective that people have. People have lost their connection to reality around them and lost their connection to the people around them. Yeah. And so ultimately the system functions because we remain divided. The system functions because we give it our energy. You know, so we've got to stop doing that. And a lot of the conspiracy stuff and the alternative research you'll find out there, go, look, the world's really bad, there's all this really bad stuff going on, but don't worry, you're going to be saved. There's white hats in there that are looking after you. There's the good guys within the system. The good guys are about to arrest the bad guys. No, it's imminent. It's imminent. It's always imminent. You know, disclosure of UFO, disclosure the UFO, the ETs are going to come and save you. It's imminent. It's imminent disclosure is going to be happening any day now. You know, I've been saying this since 1975. Any day now, you know. 35 years later, I'm still waiting for the disclosure, you know. People haven't done anything because they're waiting to be saved. I don't actually have to do anything. I know what's going on, but it's okay because I'm going to ascend. Or there's going to be a cataclysm and the world's going to change in December 2012.
I know.
The white hats are going to save me or whatever. This is all salvation from an external source. The rapture, Christ is going to come and save me. Even waiting for a disaster, even waiting for a planetary catastrophe is salvation from an external source. I don't have to do anything because the world's going to turn back into a Garden of Eden after the comet impact. You know what I mean? So I don't have to apply myself to reality. I don't have to apply myself to myself or get to know my community or build any bond with humanity around me because I'm going to be saved. You know? No matter what it is, there's a lot of research is that. It's all about externalizing everything, you know?
We're looking for an external revolution and by doing that, ignoring the internal revolution that could be happening.
Absolutely, and that's where the salvation lies. You know, we are all responsible for our own salvation, and nothing is going to change until people change their perspective of reality. That's what's going to cause the change. When we suddenly realise that this is all theatre and that we should be treating other people with respect and treating everybody as valid, because everybody is valid. They all have their unique perspective of reality, and it is the combination of all these perspectives of reality that create reality. You know, and we've got to see other people as valid, even if they're wrong. They still have a valid perspective because they have the perspective that they've been trained to have, and that's been instilled into them by all of the experiences they've had in their life up to that point. And we don't know what information these people have been exposed to, which has caused them to have the perspective that they have. But whatever it is, it's a valid perspective, even if it's completely wrong. Even if they're completely violent and sociopathic, they still have a valid perspective because it's the perspective that they've been trained to have. We've got to...
And they're all, everyone is an emanation of the planet. So it's just the planet having another little view, little frequency going on.
Yeah, you know, people just need to step back and look within themselves and see that spark of life and that spark of energy and that essence that exists within themselves, and then look at the person next to them and see that same essence in them.
Yeah, I like what you said.
Everybody is valid. Yeah, everybody is valid, and you've got to connect with these people and realise that it's by changing your perspective of reality that you can free yourself from this system, because the system is fiction. It only exists on paper. It only survives because we give it our energy. So stop giving it your energy and start giving your energy to the people around you and to yourself, and that's how you change everything.
Yeah, it's amazing the amount of 2012 videos that were out there pre-2012.
Yeah.
And now everyone's kind of going, oh.
Well, I put out a video in 2008 called The Big Picture, and I said, yeah, the world's going to change in 2012, but it's not going to be coming from a cataclysm. It's going to be when the New World Order begins in earnest.
Well, that's
everybody's
it.
sitting back. Everybody's sitting back waiting for this big shift in 2012. No one's doing anything because they're waiting to be saved. They've sat down and waited to be saved for the last however many years, because it's all going to change in December 2012. Well, let's see, you know. But I think that December 2012 represents the tipping point, the point of no return. You know, if we haven't created some sort of positive wave, then we may be in deep trouble after 2012 if we don't fix things this year. You know, that could be what's happening. But I mean, again, even with the Mayan calendar, it's all very interesting. But the fact that it was found underneath the Catholic Church kind of speaks volumes.
Are we buying into another?
Yeah, you got it. And everybody's been no one's been doing anything because they're all waiting for the world to change in December 21st, 2012. You know, but what are they doing? How are they participating in that change?
Yeah. I think
are they doing it themselves, or are they just waiting for someone to come and save them? You know?
Yeah, I think also as well, it's very much a kind of psyops in that like when nothing happens for 2012, apart from a huge new world order begins to be face itself and be more established, is that it makes people kind of go, oh, well, it makes them have no faith in anything.
Yeah, of course.
Nothing can change because, well, we or have no. No, I don't mean that. What I mean is that no faith in any kind of. I'm using.
A massive
nature, yeah.
No, in like.
You'll have a massive
kind of,
loss of confidence.
Prophecy or like the
spirituality.
That's all it is. It's prophecy, isn't it? It's some kind of prophecy.
It'll create a massive loss.
Or even the kind of the so-called kind of conspiracy. I hate that word, but that kind of thing that 2012 was all a big fake conspiracy, and it just kind of once more kind of that anyone looking into anything alternative is like, oh, it's a waste of time because it's all a big load of hooey,
It'll create a huge loss of confidence in the human experience.
Yeah,
is what it will do.
Yeah.
It'll take a huge loss of confidence in any information, in any spiritual teachings, because everybody's been sidetracked by this major event that is going to change the world, the end of the world, or the shift of consciousness. We're all going to turn into beings of light. Now, I've got New Age people, and people that even talk about when we ascend to fifth dimension, this is how to take your physical body with you. Well, hang on a minute. Isn't this a 3D body that exists in a 3D reality? Yeah. How are you going to ascend to the fifth dimension and take the third dimension with you? It doesn't really work that way, If you're going to ascend to a being of light, how are you still going to have your physical body? I've got people say, I want to be able to fly. That's the reality I'm going to create in December 21st. I'm going to be able to fly after December. These people just got rocks in their heads, Like, they really don't understand how it works at all.
They never take acid and realise they couldn't even fly when they took that.
Well, some of them tried.
You've got
it's like Bill Hicks said, they should have taken off from the ground.
Yeah.
That's what the birds do. They don't climb a building and jump off the building. They take off from the ground.
There's one more idiot we lost.
If you think you can fly, take off from the ground. Check it out. See if you can do it first before you jump off a building. Makes sense to me.
Yeah. Maybe Bill Hicks is right there. It's just one more idiot that gets lost. So
Well, the idiots are. I mean, even the idiots, they're trained to be idiots. You've got to love them. You can't. You can't look down on these people because they have the perspective they've been trained to have. And basically, this society trains people to be idiots. I mean, really, when you look at it.
That goes back to something you've been saying about empathy and also something kind of about taking things that happen, like this new bill that Obama's brought in, and seeing the positive. I heard you talking about for every action there is an equal and opposite effect. And
a lot of the people who are asleep are going to see this bill and go, hang on a minute, what's going on here? What Max has been saying must be right, or what someone else has been saying must be right. Maybe there is a conspiracy. Maybe the government doesn't have my best interest at heart. That's what all these bills do. There's opportunity in all of them. Bill HR 347 is the biggest opportunity America has had for unity that's ever been presented to it. I mean, all the people have to do is really look at this and say, well, this is Hitlerian. This is what they did in Germany, and America is a country that was founded on free speech. So if they're going to take my free speech away, then America is not here anymore. And it says in the Constitution that there's always going to be people, domestic enemies, that are going to come in and they're going to attempt to subvert the Constitution. And when that happens, it is the duty of the American people to reinstate their Constitution. So it's an opportunity for people to see that. Even the people who are asleep who don't think that the system is corrupt. Well, hang on, here's this bill. What do you think now?
Yeah, how many times do people have to be ripped off before they realise it? It's like if somebody knocks at your door and offers you a service, and then that you pay them, and then the driveway that they've put in your drive sinks, or your roof blows off the next week, or the service that they've provided to you is rubbish. So you've been diddled there. How many times does that rogue trader have to come to your door and you welcome them before you realise, hold on a minute, put two and two together and say, no, I don't want any work from you because you've diddled me too many times. The work you do is
opportunity,
But people aren't putting this together yet.
I wanted to relate what you were saying about empathy and about taking victory out of adversity, if you like, by taking this opposite effect of how things that seem on the face of it negative, and you can approach them and take something positive out of that. And I'd like to relate that to a Gnostic prayer or poem or mantra that every one of us knows. I'm not going to say it all, but part of it, which relates to the empathy and taking this alchemical chance that we have to change negative into positive, or lead into gold. And that is, give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And within that, I think it's capsulated everything, because the daily bread is our food. And that it's not just food that it's psychological food as well, and it's the negative and positive things that we have to work with, and forgiving our trespasses and forgiving those who trespass against us is the empathy of understanding, seeing ourselves in someone else, seeing them in us, and that's the only way we can hope to break down this egocentric kind of domination, psychopathic domination that's been holding us prisoners in our own panopticon of we are our own jailers, if you like. It's the only thing that's gonna and it's written there. It's written in that prayer, in that poem, in that wisdom, and that's only part of it. I just wanted to share that with you, Max. Sorry. Yeah.
No, absolutely. You're absolutely correct. I mean, you've got to forgive those who trespass against you. You absolutely do, because everybody has a valid perspective of reality, and people do what they've been trained to do. They have the perspective that they've been trained to have. And you're not going to wake these people up by attacking them. Ultimately, they're part of the self, and they need love. They're devoid of love. They're devoid of empathy. They're devoid of love and empathy because they've been trained to be that way, because they're operating within the parameters of a psychopathic system, which is basically installed a pathogen into their minds, which causes them to believe the system is real and that they have to respect the system. So it doesn't matter what anybody did. They've done what they did because of the perspective they had of reality. If they had a valid or a real understanding of reality, and they understood how reality actually works, then they wouldn't behave in this psychopathic manner. So you have to lead by example and show these people that there's a better way. And it doesn't matter what anybody did up to this point. What matters is what we do from this point. Now that we know what the situation is, now that we see reality for how it really works, it depends on how we now apply ourselves to that. That's what someone said. I saw somewhere in a movie once where a guy said, God doesn't care who you were, God only cares who you are. So it doesn't matter what anybody did. I don't wish vengeance against anybody, because they know not what they do.
Exactly. All sins are paid. That's what Christ died on the cross for. When Pilate wrote, I can't remember the exact words, but translated it means Celestai. It means all bills are all debts are paid. It is done. It has been accomplished.
People have to get over this need for vengeance that they have, and they've got to really understand that everybody that exists in reality is all part of the self. It's all part of the same self. And if you want to attack and kill and hate these people, all you're doing is becoming that which you hate.
Yeah, exactly.
If you've had someone kill your child and you felt terrible about someone killing your child, and you want to then go and kill them, you just killed someone else's child. You just became what you hate. You know, and I mean, it's a terrible thing to have your child killed, and I'm not saying you've got to rush out and embrace the murder of your kids. But you've got to understand that they did that because they're disconnected from reality. They don't understand how reality works. And ultimately, there's only one self here. There's really only one of us here experiencing itself subjectively. If you really want to look at it, you really want to get into quantum physics and understand how the physical body works, understand where your consciousness lies, which isn't within the parameters of your body. It's a frequency that you're downloading from the surrounding field, that everybody is downloading from the surrounding field. This is how your body works. Look at Bruce Lipton's work on cellular biology. And you'll see that this is how your body works. It's a biological computer that's experiencing one frequency that I experience as Max. You download a frequency from the other, from the same field into your body computer, and you experience the frequency known as you. So it ultimately comes from the same source. So we've got consciousness here which is perpetually at war with itself, because it's been trained to be at war with itself. It's been trained to look for solutions externally, to point the finger at everybody else and blame everybody else for the fact that this system's in place, when this system is fictional and it only exists because we give it our own personal energy, instead of giving energy and compassion and empathy to the people around us. That's what creates all the problems. Yeah. So sure, I mean, I can get mad with people, I can get angry with people, I can see people performing in a psychopathic way, and I can get mad, same as everybody. But you don't need to get violent, you don't need to get vengeful. Now you can get angry and you can direct that anger into positive action and a positive demonstration of positive parameters to people. And sure, there's going to be some people who just don't get it, who are psychopathic and they're born psychopathic and they remain psychopathic. But don't hurt them, because you're just becoming what you hate. You know, I mean, like all these psychopathic politicians, I've often said, well, let's just get them all and put them all on Christmas Island or something. Put them all in one of these detention camps that they put all the refugees in and leave them there until they wake up. Eventually one of them might wake up and we can bring them back into society. But if they want to go there and they want to have their wars, put them all on an island, give them all a hammer and say, here, have your war. Not a problem. Go and bash each other over the head with hammers all day and until there's only one of you left. You know, we'll put you up on a... We'll put you up on a pedestal and shoot you in the head, and that'll get rid of the psychopathic society, you know. But, you know, you can't hurt these people. They'll ultimately hurt themselves. And if you stop giving them your power, they can sit there and be as psychopathic as they want. And, you know, it's not gonna affect me, because I'm not giving them my energy. I'm not obeying the rules that they write down. And you find these psychopathic people always, like psychopaths want to control people, so they will always maneuver themselves into a position where they are in control of other people, the CEOs of corporations or their politicians or whatever, you know, and they all behave pathologically. I've never met a politician or heard a politician speak that didn't behave pathologically. I mean, they all do. It's a prerequisite for being a politician. You've got to be a barefaced liar, and you've got to be able to think pathologically, otherwise you'll never make it in the political arena.
Yeah.
You know, it's designed to screen all the real people out. And the more psychopathic and sociopathic you are, the higher you can climb on the political rungs.
Anyone that wants to be a politician are the very people who you should not have as politicians.
Absolutely. Anybody who really wants the gig is not suitable for the job. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a good litmus test.
Oh, absolutely. These people climb over each other. They climb over each other and they abuse each other and they strive and they claw their way to the top because they really want to be in control of everybody else.
Yeah. Those people should be made
there's a sign. Yeah, that's a bit of a sign for people, you know. If they're going to that much trouble in order to get to the top of the food chain, well, I can't say they've got good interests at heart. People have said to me, why don't you be a politician?
I like a comedian we had over in the 80s called Ben Alton. His analogy was like, these people get up in the morning and they can't even make up their mind what they're going to have for breakfast, you know. Should I have cornflakes or should I, you know, do this, you know. And then they go to work and make decisions that affect us all. You know? It's like...
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But people have said, why don't you be a politician, Max? And I say, well, I don't want the gig. I wouldn't want to be a politician. And apart from that, I'm honest. I wouldn't survive in the current political arena. But damned if I want to rule a country. I don't want to rule anybody. Yeah. Why on earth would I want to rule anybody or control what anybody else can do with their lives?
Yeah.
You know, I don't even think we need politicians. I think we need a group of elders. Yeah. If there is a problem, we can go talk to the elders and they can sit at a round table and they can figure it out, you know. We need people like Socrates and Plato and all these guys, sitting around figuring out what's going on. We don't need politicians,
I saw Julian Gillard in a bit of strife the other day when some of the original people were protesting at a hotel she was doing a speech at or something, or some meeting she was at, and a lot of the original people were around there shouting at her, and she had to run for her life, and like Cinderella, she lost one of her shoes.
Yeah, that was absolute theatre, actually.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people that were down there at the Tent Embassy. Oh, now you've got to look at how they did this. The leader of the opposition, Tony Abbott, who is a textbook sociopath, and that's the big worry about getting Julia Gillard out of government, is that if we do kick out the Labor Party, then Tony Abbott is going to be running the country. Oh. And he's a textbook sociopath. So what happened was Tony Abbott made some derogatory remarks about the Tent Embassy, the original People's Tent Embassy in Canberra. And then the next day, which was Australia Day, when there was a huge gathering at the Tent Embassy, thousands of people there, they went to a restaurant about a quarter of a mile away, just across the other side of the park, right? And Tony Abbott and Julia Gillard went in there, and then they leaked to the Tent Embassy that they were in there. So of course, about 50 people from the Tent Embassy went across there and started standing outside the window going, "Shame, shame, shame, shame," just yelling out shame, which is what you would do if you saw Julia Gillard, because she's a very shameful person.
Yeah.
And so what they did is they called in the riot squad, who walked calmly through the crowd and through the protesters. No violence, no weapons, no sticks, no stones, just yelling out shame, shame, shame. And they went in there, and then they rushed her out the back door. And there was nobody around her at all when they rushed her out. They're dragging her out, dragging her sideways, and there's cops literally jumping up and down on the spot to make it look like they're involved in some scuffle. And they're all pushing and shoving each other to make it look like they were being pushed and shoved, because they were doing it to themselves. And it was a photo op. It was a complete theatre.
I thought that was she lost her shoe.
All the original people were on the other side of the building. But all the original people were on the other side of the building. There was no Aboriginal people around her when they were hurrying her out. And there's a reporter there saying that the crowd of 50 has now swelled to 500, and these people are very, very angry. And it was rubbish. It was 50 people, and there was indignation, yelling out shame, shame, shame. But there was no one threatening her, no one attacking her. The biggest danger she faced was from the police that were dragging her out. And then after she left, the police went around to the crowd and they started the violence so they could get it on film to say, "Oh, look how violent this crowd is." And you can see the police walking through there, surrounding people and then pushing them and shoving them to make them look like this big jostling crowd. The police were doing it all themselves. It was absolute theatre. And this just goes to show that our Prime Minister, her minders and the media are a bunch of barefaced liars who cook up false news and do photo ops in order to bring in more and more repressive legislation. And Julia Gillard, if you're ever listening to this show, you are a barefaced liar and a disgrace to your office, and you need to step down immediately. And the Australian Federal Police are basically a crime gang with a monopoly on violence. That's all they are. I have no respect for these people at all, and no Australian person should have any respect for the Australian Federal Police.
The Type 1 Radio Lounge endorses what Max says to the hilt.
Well, it's true. It's true that the police are simply a crime gang with a monopoly on violence. That's all they are.
So,
she's not going to give up her a 400 and whatever grand a year job, though, is she?
$450,000 a year now. She's given herself $450,000 a year. That's a higher wage than President Barack Obama. You know, Julia Gillard is the highest paid world leader on the globe at the moment.
And what does she do?
Her air flights cost more, though.
Apart from like sell off Australia to the highest bidder and pay yourself a lot of money.
Yeah.
Basically, that's all she's doing. Yeah, she's promoting coal seam gas mining, the destruction of the water table, the enslavement of the populace to corporate debt, and paying herself a lot of money to do it. That's all she's doing. I think Reset wanted to say something.
Yeah, sorry, I was eating. Was kind of wondering, before you got on, we were talking a little bit about politics, and we kind of had to move off it real quick, but I brought up the idea of voting out all the incumbents, that are in office right now and electing people that maybe aren't career politicians. I mean, I don't really see voting as a solution. I don't really think governments are going to help us. But if there were anyway, I mean, what do you think about that? Voting out all the incumbents and electing not career politicians.
Well, that'd be a good thing to do, but like you said, it's people who want the job. Who wants to be who wants to be elected? All the good people don't want the job. I mean, people say to me, "Why don't you run for politics, Max?" I don't want the job. I don't want to do that. I mean, why would I want to do that? Why would I want to control other people and have my life, spend my life controlling this country and trying to run this country? I don't want to know about it. I just, none of the good people want the gig. That's the problem. So anybody who even is going to put their name up, put their hand up, is okay, vote out the incumbents and vote me in. Well, hang on, why do you want the gig? If you're a decent person, why on earth would you want to work in politics, That's the problem. How are we ever going to get real people in there? We need to... I mean, I don't really believe there's any way of fixing the problem from within the parameters provided by this system. We need a new system. We need a new way of doing things.
You could have like a jury duty where you just picked randomly.
I was going to say, I mean, if it was overturning a lot more rather than just electing in these career politicians, if there was someone different getting elected, every year, and sometimes it was your neighbor or the guy that owns the corner shop or something, as opposed to real. Oh, go on.
The way you could do it would be take the high paid positions away from it, take all the high wages away, and people don't need to be getting $450,000 a year to be a politician. I mean, these guys should be give them a house to live in while they're doing it, I suppose, and give them a few $100 a week or whatever. They don't need all the money that they're making, and that would immediately get rid of most of the sociopaths and psychopaths because they're not going to these high paid positions. But what politicians need to do, and whoever's running the place needs to do, is they need to readjust their mindset. But of course, so do the people. See, what these politicians should be doing is basically managing our infrastructure for us. We need to know that the roads are going to have good surfaces on them, that the food's going to be arriving on time, that all the infrastructure is going to work. We don't need more and more bits of repressive legislation brought in, more carbon tax. I mean, basically any politician that supports a money system that's based on interest-bearing debt, for a start, is not suitable for the job. Any politician that gets elected that doesn't address this money system is not suitable for the job. It's as simple as that. So the first thing we need to do, like if you made me Prime Minister of Australia, first thing I'd do would be cancel all debt. Cancel all debt and remove the interest off money, kick out the IMF and print and control our own currency. Yeah. All right? That's the first thing that any country should do. Cancel all debt. We need an immediate cancellation of all debt, because if we do that, we basically free the whole world from the fear-based mind control that they're currently in, the financial terrorism that they currently live in, because it is financial terrorism. Yeah. And people are always scared of not being able to pay the bills, and this is fear-based mind control. Absolutely. Okay?
And then they too give everybody a free energy device to run the home, so they don't need to worry about energy.
Well, you've got that, like Justin Hall Tipping, who did a recent presentation on TED Talks and showed that you can get carbon, reduce it to the nanoscale. You can put a film on your window, and you can generate as much energy you want simply from the light coming in from your window. Yeah. That's pretty amazing.
We were discussing that before, in that you could eventually use that technology on products like
you use it on everything, mate. Well, it's a flexible surface. You could cover your car in this stuff. Be running your car from that. You could put it on aircraft wings and be running the planes from it. I mean, it isn't direct sunlight. It's just light. It converts light to an electron, and then harnesses that electron and uses that. So we can do all of this sort of stuff. We have the technology now to completely free humanity from fear-based mind control. So any government that isn't doing that is not fit to govern. Yeah. It's as simple as that. And so you only need people in place that can manage this infrastructure for you. You don't need people that are going to impose more systems of control and exploit the planet more and more to gain energy sources that we don't need, such as coal seam gas mining.
Exactly. Well said, mate.
So that's what we need. I mean, we don't need politicians at all. We need managers, people to manage infrastructure. That's all we need a political party for, or even a government for. The government should govern how the infrastructure is managed and do it at the will of the people. You know, it's always got to be done with the people and the environment and the planet that the people live on as being held in the highest regard and the highest esteem. It's all got to support that. You know, we've got to have that which is sustainable, but not the sustainable that they want. I mean, all they want to be able to do is sustain the current system. You know what I mean? Which is all about exploitation of resources at the expense of the people. So that's their sustainability. You know, it's a complete scam. They co-opt everything and they turn it into something that it isn't. You know, but that's what politicians should do: is manage our infrastructure and improve society, not limit what society can do. You know, under the pretense of sustainability, when all they're doing is raping the planet. I mean, how can we have a government that's going to bring in carbon tax because, it's got to, we're facing climate change and it's all very, very terrible, we've got to bring in carbon tax, and yet they're going to support the destruction of the water table through coal seam gas mining? And how can you have a double standard like that and claim that you're doing anything to benefit humanity? And coal seam gas mining, this is a no-brainer. Absolute no-brainer. You're destroying the water table in order to extract gas. But we can't drink gas, we can't eat coal, we can't eat money, and this life on this planet cannot survive without water. So that's what needs to be looked at, you know?
Yeah.
That is insane.
Well, when the land is salinated like that, you can't go anything on it. Can't stay in anything, can you?
I didn't quite hear that.
Well, when you desalinate the land like that, you can't grow anything ever again on it, can you?
No, you can't, and that's the elephant in the room as far as coal seam gas goes, is the salt that it brings up. You know, these gas wells bring up enormous amounts of salt from the lower levels, and once you salinate the ground, well, that's all over. You know, you just kill it.
And that's forever.
Yeah, pretty well. I mean, it's absolutely shocking. And you get a gas field of 4,000 wells or something. It produces enough salt to make a pile of salt about 200 meters high and 70 kilometers long or something. It's ridiculous, the amount of salt that it brings up. And that is the elephant in the living room. They're not telling anybody about the salt, but it's the salt that is one of the really, really dangerous parts. Apart from all the benzene and all the other stuff and chemicals that it brings up as well, but the salt is absolutely devastating to the soil.
So I thought it was the chemicals that they were using within the waters that they hydraulically, pump into the ground.
Well, not
as well as the ceramics that they put within the water to keep the seams open.
No, it's what's extracted, isn't it, Max? The salt's
well, it's stuff. Well, the salt is what comes up. It's what comes up when the water comes up. You know, because they frack all the water. You know, and so they're destroying the water table, and they're freeing up all of these toxins and benzene and salts and everything in there. So they all come to the surface, right? And there's very, very bad chemicals that exist down there that they bring up anyway, very toxic things.
So they're basically disturbing what's there and bringing the...
Well, all the stuff that we don't want. I mean, we want the water, but we don't want all the chemicals that are down there in the shale seams and stuff, right? But they're also injecting a lot of chemicals down there. It's like 300 chemicals or something, some of the most toxic chemicals known to man, that they're filling this water that they're using, the frack fluid that they call it. They're putting thousands and thousands and thousands of gallons down there. So this is all good, potable water. This is water that we could be drinking. They're filling it full of chemicals and they're pumping it down there and exploding it with hydraulic fracturing down in the coal seam. And then only about a third of that comes up. The rest of it stays down there and pollutes the water table. All of those thousands and thousands of gallons of chemicals they put down there, it all pollutes the water table. And eventually this goes through everything because all the water's connected. All of the aquifers are connected, ultimately. And in Australia here, I mean, this is a spring-fed nation. We don't have high mountains. We don't have precipitation. All we have is the Great Artesian Basin. And that's all connected through aquifers. All the aquifers flow into the Great Artesian Basin, and this is where we get our springs and our river systems, and everything comes from the Great Artesian Basin. And what they're doing is they're polluting that. And once they destroy that, there will be no Australia. There will be no water in this country. The only people that will be living here, if fracking is allowed to continue, in another 15 years or 10 years, the only people that will be living here will be people working in the gas fields, and they'll be drinking recycled water. And you'll have to live in major city centres like Sydney or Brisbane, or you won't have any of these regional centres because all the groundwater will be polluted, so there won't be any way to live there. So this all ties in with Agenda 21. It's all about moving people into concentrated pockets of civilization, which is what Agenda 21 is all about. And all the resources that are being put in control of the UN now as well, like some of the latest meetings that are going on, like the latest G20 summit or whatever that's happening in Brazil, which is talking about the IUCN, which is basically Agenda 21 on steroids. And this is basically putting control of all global resources into the hands of the United Nations, you know. And so it all ties together, and it's all about Agenda 21. And water is the most valuable resource we have on the planet. I mean, that's one of the main reasons they went into Libya, I would say, because Libya is one of the largest aquifers on Earth, you know. And the UN is snapping up water rights all over the planet because they know that they are destroying the water table. They know exactly what they're doing. That's the thing. See, look, they know about Tesla technology. They know about all these free energy devices. So even saying that they're doing it because they need gas for energy, it's complete theatre. They know they don't need gas for energy. So therefore, why are they doing it? Well, why they're doing it is to destroy the water table. That's obvious that that's why they're doing it. It's all about control of population and moving people into concentrated areas of population. That's what fracking is about.
Yeah, and when you mention free energy, people go, free energy? What's that? That's rubbish. I've never heard of free energy. If someone had come up with something like that, I would have heard about it. Well,
well, the media would have told me,
Well, you have to.
I mean, free energy. I mean, it's free to a certain extent. You can extract energy from sources that are non-pollutive, but I mean, nothing's really free. You've got to build infrastructure for it. Even with Justin Hall Tipping's device, you've got to create the carbon, you've got to create the films, you've got to create the e-boxes to harness the electrons. So, I mean, there is expense involved. Of course, there is. But once it's there generating that energy, then it becomes free from that point. All that's really needed is the maintenance of the infrastructure.
The reason people probably haven't heard of it is because people like James Black, Ariel M. Degas, Michael Z. Burr, Eugene Maylove, Bruce De Palma, these people who were involved in free energy and they were scientists all involved in free energy. Well, they're all dead now. I wonder why that is.
Yeah, funny that, isn't it?
Yeah. That's why you've never heard of them, because as soon as anyone comes up with anything worthwhile, they get...
They seem to mysteriously develop a heart problem or something, you know?
Yeah, or get found dead in a car park or something like that.
Yeah, fascinating, isn't it? Seems that free energy's terminal, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Got me thinking about free energy jet.
But he's back to the Delta.
Right.
He was on tonight,
Free Energy J is one of our friends on board here, Max, and he's just had to go through quite a big heart operation.
Okay.
We're wishing him well.
He experiments with kind of Tesla kind of ideas and stuff.
Lots of generating fields and stuff like that. All good.
Well, see, Tesla would have changed the world, absolutely, you know?
No, he nearly did.
Unfortunately, he has. It's just that that's only because his technology has been co-opted and it's been used for nefarious purposes, basically. I mean, that's what HARP's all about.
Yeah.
Well, radio, he invented that. That was one of his sort of little side things that somebody stole off him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Marconi.
Yeah. So the free energy technology is out there. It's just never been allowed to be developed sufficiently, or the science has never been allowed to make its way to the surface of popular culture.
Just the control, of the people who have...
Yeah.
Well, it is. It's all part of the control. If people have free energy, that means they can just go and build a house in the woods and have power. We can't have that. I mean, that'd be freedom.
We can't tax that.
Yeah.
How can you tax that? How is there an income in that for the government? And the government needs an income. It's got to exploit the people as much as it can so it can pay off its bill to the World Bank.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the way these people go. They even the people that believe the system is real, that's the way they think. It's all about managing the economy. You've got to be in a state of permanent growth. But you can't have a system based on permanent growth when you live on a planet that has finite resources.
Well, that's the thing,
It doesn't work that way.
you can grow like a flower or you can grow like a tumour. You know, it's like, which one are we at?
Well, permanent growth, when we have a system that's based on capitalism, which means it's all about, you can't even make anything to last because it's not financially viable to do so. You've got to make everything to break down so you can keep replacing it because that's the way capitalism works. And the only way you can do this is by extracting more and more resources out of the planet. So we extract all these resources out of the planet and we turn it into rubbish. And that's basically what our society does.
Well, thanks, Max. We've got 30 seconds left. That's been an amazing night with you. Thank you so much for coming on. And
thank you very much.
My pleasure, guys.
We can do it again sometime, hopefully.
Yeah, it's been really lovely talking to you, Max. I've really enjoyed it.
Do you want to put,
we'll still
your website? Or?
The website is thecrowhouse.com, and that's where all the information is that I put out on thecrowhouse.com.